Hi guys, what's up? Long time no see. Hi guys, what's up? Hi Prem, hi Uncle Slayer. Uncle Slayer's name is Siddhant, right? Siddhant, yes. Hi Kailash. Hi Bipasha, good evening. Same shirt, bro. Good to have you back. Yeah, I don't have a lot of clothes, so I just have like five, six pairs that I just keep rotating. I don't like mm, clothes or all that showy stuff. So Kushwaha, hi bro, just love you, bro. How's your health? I'm like personally feeling a lot better. I mean, physically as well as mentally. I feel pretty pumped up to like start creating content again. So that's there, and yeah, I mean, health wise, I feel awesome. I mean, at this point of time. When will you start web development? So, I mean, for web development, I've already started preparing for it, as I mentioned in the blog as well. If you guys read the blog, I've started preparing for it. So, basically, I mean, the initial couple of videos, maybe two or three videos initially, these are the videos that take are kind of taking a lot of time, and there are a couple of reasons for that as well. I mean, firstly, I've been, off creating content since a very long time. So, I mean, it's like a new start for me after starting to create content after so long. So that's there. And apart from that, I mean, even when I was doing it back in June, what happened was that there was like so the Git masterclass that I want to create. So for the Git masterclass, I personally have to create some repositories and things like that, and I have to plan it around like what all videos do I want to have and things like that. So all of that kind of took a lot of time back then, but now all that preparation and planning is done. And for web development, I already have a roadmap in mind. I mean, an outline in mind. And I told you guys that we would be, developing the Virtual Tech Schools website. So the website, I still have to deploy it. I mean, it's the website. I was making a few changes. I mean, a couple of hours ago. So those changes are not. I mean, it's not yet stable. The prototype that I want to launch, but I mean, once it is launched, then I mean the web development bootcamp for front end part, it's going to, after that, I mean, it's kind of easy to create videos based on the code that I've already written, right? And the objective of that is to teach you how I built that website. And once that is done, then I mean, we'll pick up some of the, projects, some, applications. YouTube is one of them, right? We'll build a YouTube from scratch, just the front end part of it. Maybe later on, once we learn backend, we can also try to build backend of it. I haven't attempted any video streaming platforms yet, but yeah, I mean, we can do that. So I mean, that's what's going to happen in the boot camp. And the video will be out, I guess, in the next weekend. Before that, I think it's a little bit difficult because there's a lot of preparation and things going on. And I mean, the reason why I'm doing this live is that since I've been like off screen for a very long time, I just kind of had that hesitation in mind that what will happen once I upload a video again. So I just wanted to feel a bit confident myself, because losing confidence or things like that, it's pretty common because we are humans, right? So I mean, I was pretty low on confidence because of that, also because I still like haven't been on screen for a very long time, right? So the reason for doing this live was also, I mean, to gain a little bit of that confidence, get to meet you guys and do have some interactions with you. So I guess this is going to fulfill that purpose. And after that, I mean, maybe even today or today is not possible, I guess, because we have the India versus Pakistan match, right, which no one wants to miss out. So that is there. But maybe tomorrow I'll shoot that video and edit it, and then I mean I'll spend what time is left in completing the website, and then maybe next weekend I'll upload the first video for the Git masterclass. And after that, I mean, there would be a very short video explaining how the front end course will go, along with like revealing the virtual tech school's website, the community's website. And once that website is revealed and I have like briefed you guys about how the course is going to go, once that is done, after that, we are going to start with the front end basics. And I mean, for front end basics also, you don't have to like just how detailed I went into Linux, right? For Linux, I mean, I created a lot of videos, and usually the content that I've created in 7 8 videos, all that content is covered, I guess, in maybe 2 2 3 hours max in other videos, right? So I went into a bit detail when I was creating Linux course. But when it comes to front end, so I don't plan to go into that much detail for front end. And the reason for that is simple. I mean, the main thing is that I want you guys to learn by doing, right? So I will be teaching while building it, right? It's not like I first create a couple of videos teaching you how to do HTML, teaching you how to do CSS and things like that. The main thing is that I would be building the application, and while building it I would be teaching you how HTML, CSS and all these things work. And we'll also work with some third party libraries as well, so you'll get some real time experience on how you can not write your own code but use some code that is already out there. And that also opens up some scope for open source contributions. So a lot of you guys are interested in open source as well, so that will give you the opportunity to start finding all the repositories that are there that wants you to make some open source contributions, and you can start doing that as well, right? How's your mental health? My mental health is good, Raj. Thanks. I mean, currently I feel awesome. Long time no see. Yes, Adarsh. I know that. How much time does it take to grow this much hair? Uh, so Siddhant, basically this is nothing, and I mean, you guys can ask personal questions as well today. I mean, I'm ready to answer anything that you might ask, right? So this much hair growth is nothing. I think I got a haircut about a month or a month and a half ago, maybe 30 45 days ago. I got a haircut. So I mean, it's not long hair right now, but there was a time when I grew my hair for 2 years straight. And I mean, by that time I had this long hair. So currently my family doesn't allows it. It's not like I don't like having long hair, but it's just that it's like maintaining those long hair is kind of a hassle. So I did it for a couple of years just to get that hobby out of me, and then I mean, I just started keeping short hair. So this is short hair. I mean, this is not long hair right now. This is just short hair, right? I did MERN only, React left. What should I do? What should I build projects for applying? So I mean, you should build some projects first, because if you apply anywhere, Omkar, then people are going to ask all the work that you have done before, and that is the point where portfolio comes into picture. You need to have a good portfolio in order to make people believe that you are confident guy and you can do anything, right? So build some projects first. Maybe spend a month in building projects, and after that, I mean, starting October, maybe after Durga Puja or Dishera or something, you can start applying for jobs or internships. I mean, whatever you prefer. Sir, tell us about something. BizGurukul, if you know anything about it. Just a freelancing question to you. BizGurukul. Let me just check what it is. I've never heard of it. I've heard of a lot of. Okay. Is this powered by Navgurukul or something? The design is pretty similar. I think it's from the same team. So I mean, I haven't heard about it. uh, BizGurukul. It's kind of new. I'll have to. Uh, there are courses as well: marketing, branding, traffic mastery courses. Okay. I mean, I'm not sure about the credibility of these courses yet. I'll have to check out some blogs or something on it. But I mean, the general idea, if you want to, research about any product or anything, is that go on Quora or go on Reddit, right, and just search about that product. So people are going to give you very brutal feedbacks there, right, and very honestly brutal feedback. So if you are not sure about any product, just like you told me about BizGurukul, which I had no idea about, you can just go on Quora or Reddit and search about it. You'll find a lot of answers. People are going to, come forward and, help you understand what they offer and, you know, um, what they do. So, I mean, what kind of, quality do they offer in their course? Mohammad Hamad Sani says that I am from Pakistan. Hello, Mohammad. Uh, I hope we have a good competition today in cricket. And it's just a game, right? I mean, winning or losing doesn't matter. The main thing is that we enjoy that match, right? So, I mean, that is what is important. And best of luck to both the teams. Uh, I mean, what we want is we want a close match, right? We don't want it to be a one-sided game, just like it was in the last year's World Cup, right? Pakistan won by 10 wickets, and that was completely like demolishing India and a one-sided game. So we don't want that kind of game. We just want a close game, like it goes to the last over and things like that. That is what we want, right? As cricket fans. Tomorrow I had Java Sim. Mester, bro. It's late watching you. Thanks, bro. Hi, Ayush. Bro, I have just learned Monstack. Any advice on how to get a remote internship? So, King of Kings, as I just mentioned, start building a few projects because you need to have some good projects in your portfolio before applying. Anyone is going to ask you about what all have you built before this, and they'll try to find some resemblance between their product and what you have built earlier. So, if let's say you build an e-commerce website and you go to a company that has an e-commerce product, then there's a high probability that they are going to consider you, right? So try to build a lot of variety of projects. Just don't stick to one sort of project, like I have to build e-commerce or I have to build some SaaS based product or things like that. Just don't stick to that. Try to build a variety of products, and if let's say you are more skilled in front end, just focus on front end, right? You can add a little bit of back end functionality, doesn't matter, but your core strength is front end, so just focus on front end and approach any interview as if you're a front end developer, right, with some additional skills, right? So what happens is that if you are a full stack developer, but let's say you're not sure about your back end skills and you're very good with front end, so what a lot of people do is they still consider themselves as a full stack developer and they apply to roles that calls for full stack developer. So don't do that kind of mistake. Apply to roles that are purely for front end development because you're good at front end, and when you're giving an interview, just tell them that you also have some skills in backend and database as well, because for front end roles, if you have some additional skills for backend as well as database management or things like that, then they are going to be a big plus. But if you're applying for a full stack role and you're not that good with backend, then it is going to deduct those points out of your profile, and would make you less likely of a candidate, right? So I mean, that's what you should do, and build some projects first. Can you please share the next 4 or 5 topics which you are going to upload? Yes, Manish. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a video on Git, right? And it would be extremely basic, right? And the reason for that, Git basics, is that I created a Linux masterclass course, right? And I mean, the notes for that course is still not available, right? So the idea is that I mean, I'll tell you a little bit about Git, and I'll brief you, how you can make some contributions and things like that. And the next video after that, that is going to be there, I'm going to reveal the virtual tech school's website, as well as there would be different pages for different courses. So Linux would also be there, and for Linux, a GitHub GitHub repository would already be built, where anyone who has already created courses can start contributing to that repository. So that is the objective of the first Git video that is going to be there. And I mean, the agenda for the second video is to explain how you can start contributing notes of the Linux masterclass course, and also to show you the website what we are going to build while doing front end. And once these two videos are done, then we will the first video would be on HTML, the second video would be on CSS, the third may be on Bootstrap, the fourth may be on JavaScript, the fifth may be on jQuery. We won't be diving deep into any of these topics, but the thing is that since we'll be building while learning all these technologies, we will be building while learning all these technologies. So what will happen is that it won't just remain theoretical for you. I mean, you would, you know, create some sort of visual memory for you where you will understand that I, did this thing and visually this thing happened in the website, right? So, and since I mean, it would be a complete product in a sense because it's a website that is actually live for the community, then I mean, it would feel like it will give you a sense of, achievement that you've actually built something that matters, right? So I mean, that is the agenda, and while we are building it, you'll start understanding a lot of things, because as we say in programming, practice makes a man perfect, right? So the main idea is to practice as much as we can, and while practicing it, we'll be learning it and understanding it as well. I mean, rather than me creating a PPT, or me just writing some things with my pen, tablet, or anything like that, what I rather prefer is to show you how I'm coding it and show you the result, and then try to explain what actually happened behind the scenes, right? So I mean, that's how the next couple of videos are going to be. So Raj says that I'm in the same situation at what you were back then in your past. I'm also raised by a single parent. Any special message for me? So Raj, take care of your parents, right? I mean, take care of them, right? Think about them, and make them your motivation, because if you are being raised by a single parent, then just know that they have given everything that is there, right, for your well-being and for your for you doing better in your career. So they've given it everything, right? It's soon it will be time for you to pay back, right? So just keep that in mind and think about your parent whenever you feel down or anything like that, and just try to do whatever you're doing for just for the sake of them, because ultimately whatever they did for you to help you succeed in life. So show them that their efforts were not in vain, and keep that as a motivation in your mind. Take care of them, right? And keeping that as motivation, work as hard as you can, and as smartly as you can, because hard work alone doesn't um, gives you stuff. I mean, gives you results. Thanks, Sanskriti. uh, राना सेज इतने दिन कहाँ थे मैंने आपको डीएम किया है. राना, I'll talk to you later. I'll talk to you later. You bring energy. Mr. says, why are you rude at times, bro? I don't know, man. I mean, do I sound rude currently? I mean, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, sometimes some of the things kind of frustrate me. In the past I had some anger issues, and one of the reasons for that was whatever things that messed up in my family or whatever it is. So those were the reasons why I developed some anger issues back then. But over the time, I mean, since it's already been about 6 no 8 years. So since it's already been 8 years now, I I've worked on it, and now I don't get as angry as I used to. So I'm not as rude as I used to be. But if you still feel that I'm rude, I'm sorry about it. I mean, I don't mean it, but it just comes out. Vipasha says that I'm losing confidence because of my academics. because I have only 51% in 12th. How to be motivated? So Bipasha, I'll tell you something. The overall, so I mean back then I'm not sure about what criteria there is today, but back then when I was in 12th and we were preparing for JEE mains and things like that. Um, there was a cutoff percentage in order to be eligible for giving JEE mains, and that percentage was about I think 75%, right? So when I gave my boards in 12th, I scored 70% in it, so I wasn't even eligible to give the JEE mains exam, right? And JEE mains at that point of time was considered as the only thing that is there in life, right? So I mean I wasn't eligible for it, but that didn't push me down because um, the main the main thing is that ever since I passed that phase and now I'm working professionally or whatever it is, not even a single person in my entire life have ever asked me how much I've scored in my 12th, right? So it doesn't matter as long as you develop those skills. It doesn't matter, right? Bro, what's your mother tongue? My mother tongue is Hindi. आई मीन दिल्ली से हूँ ब्रो. तो आई मीन हिंदी, तो आई मीन मदर टंग ही हिंदी है, बट या आई मीन प्रोफेशनली इंग्लिश इज द लैंग्वेज दैट गोज वर्ल्ड वाइड. Pick please of long hairs, please. Shubham, I think there would be pictures on my Instagram if if you're really interested to see. I recently went on a trip as well, and even in I think on Kunal's channel. So Kunal Kushwaha, he has a vlogging channel, and in that vlogging channel, there is a vlog he has uploaded on a trek that we did. So me, Kunal, my little brother, and two other guys, they went with us. Right, we five of us, we went on a trek, and that trek was kind of very adventurous, right? Because there was a lot of heavy snowfall and some landslides and a lot of things going on in that couple of 2 3 days when we were in the mountain camping, right? And so a lot of things happened there, and it kind of got a little bit dangerous as well. But since Kunal was the only person who had a mirrorless camera among us, he was the one taking pictures, and I got a lot of good shots clicked and a lot of good videos shot from his camera, and that entire vlog consists of me. Right, because I mean I have what about 30 40 appearances in that video. It's a 4-minute video, so you can imagine. I mean other people have about 5 10 appearances max. I have about 40 appearances, and there's one good shot, a 20-second shot, where I'm just just playing with my hair, trying to get the snow off my hair. So you can watch that video. That would give you a good look when I had long hairs. But and that was in December, I mean 2021. Good to see you back. So Gaurav says that good to see you back. What do you suggest when you are pursuing or learning anything and you find yourself lost sometimes? Uh, I don't mind, reaching out to people for help, right? So the first thing is that whenever I feel that I'm not able to get anything in my mind, the first thing that I do is I just go out for a walk, maybe 5 10 minutes walk, or maybe listen to some music, something like that. So that helps me clear my mind out. Sometimes I even meditate. I mean, back in the early days, I used to meditate a lot. So even today, I mean, I meditate sometimes just to clear every random thoughts that are coming from my mind. And after that, I mean, I try to reattempt it. And the main thing is that I just don't rely on theory. I mean, the ultimate thing that has helped me in my career is that I never relied on theory. I always wanted some practical thing about it. So if I'm learning, even if I'm learning something, I'll just try to find some video that can explain that entire thing to me in forms of diagrams, right? So I don't just go about someone explaining me what that is, but I just try to find a flow chart or a diagram about it, and I just spend some time just looking at it, just trying to understand what is happening or things like that. And because I kind of have a visual memory, right? So I try to remember things by making some charts and flow charts and diagrams in my mind. That's how I usually remember things. So I just try to find some visuals about it and just try to analyze those visuals, just think, what is happening in that diagram or whatever it is. And after that, just after understanding it, I just give it a try. It's not like, I don't. So this last month I was studying about blockchain, right? I mean, I spent some time learning about blockchain and Web3. I already had a little bit of idea about blockchain, but the time I last studied blockchain was in, I guess, in 2018. So it's already been 4 years since then. So I was kind of rusty with my blockchain. So I went about again, reading about blockchain and things like that. And a lot of things were confusing me. I mean, it's kind of natural that you don't get things in one go. So a lot of things were confusing me, and I was doing all that, going through all that blockchain stuff and things like that. And when I was going through it, what I did was I started reading about some case studies. Like, I know some products that already are on blockchain, right? There are a lot of things regarding blockchain, right? There is decentralized systems and centralized systems, and there's this D5 that is there. And then to access those blockchain APIs and things like that, there is Web3.js that is there, right? So a lot of things go on. You just need to understand what is going behind the scenes, and go as deep as you can inside it. If you know things from the root level, just consider it as I'm speaking English, right? The reason why I'm speaking English is because I know the basic ABCD, the alphabets that are there. So that is the root knowledge that I need to speak English. After that, I know how to form words. After that, I know how to form sentences, right? So taking it step by step, you need to go at the very basic root level of it first, as deep as you can. Just try to understand it, in that sense. But I mean, I guess in coding or in technologies, it works kind of the different way, because coding is all about abstracting things and making it easier for you, right? So, I mean, the approach is to just understand the layer of it first, whatever you're studying. So when I was, learning blockchain, I just went about the layer of it, like what is the gist of blockchain or what happens. Then I came across some terminologies in blockchain. I, gave a read about those blockchain terminologies. Then I started diving deep into how blockchain works inside, like within the, um, at a layer that we cannot see, right? Because I mean, what we have to do for blockchain is we just have to call some APIs using Web3, right? But what those APIs are actually doing behind the scenes, right? That is the main thing that I need to understand. So I first, got a gist about blockchain. Then I came across some terminologies. I started studying it. Then after that, I went deep inside blockchain, and doing all this process, I started having more and more questions about blockchain. I started researching about those questions on blockchain, and eventually I think that I have decent knowledge about blockchain at this point of time, right? So that's how you should approach anything when you're learning. And if you're feeling lost, just take a walk, maybe listen to some music, or just meditate. You can use the, I think that it was mindfulness app or what. So there's an application. I mean, there are a lot of applications nowadays for guided meditations, and they are free of cost. So you can download any of those applications and just do some guided meditation. It might help you, right? Just follow the instructions, whatever he is saying, uh, the guide is saying, and it will work out for you. How long does it take to get a remote job if I start contributing to open source from 2023? So for remote jobs, I mean, the ideal time, I mean, that you should have in mind even as a goal should be about 1 year, because before 1 year you wouldn't have a stable remote job. It's highly unlikely, because 1 year is the time that it at least takes to acquire the skills and refine your skills to the level where people who are paying so much money to hire someone remotely, um, you know can consider hiring you, right? And if you are applying for remote jobs in India itself, then I mean, to be very honest, the standard is pretty low. I mean, just how there used to be regular 20-25,000 rupees jobs, it's the same standard. They ask the same questions. It's just that those jobs have shifted remotely because the companies do not want to bear the office costs and things like that. So I mean, don't go for low profile Indian companies if you're looking for a remote job. Either go for companies that are well established, go for startups, right? Startups that are not well established, and by not well established I mean team sizes from 10 to 20 people at max, right? Because if you go to startups that are 50, 100 people big, right, then they've already established a lot of things, and they are already at that phase of their business where they want to control the cost and things like that, but they don't want to compromise on the work that you are doing. So I mean they'll just slave drive you. I see everybody knows web dev around me. Then how can someone make a difference? See, I mean, that's where the T-shaped developer comes into place, because everyone knows web development, but I mean, in my day-to-day life, I come across a lot of people who say that web dev to mujhe bhi aata hai. I mean, I also know web dev, right? But when I ask some questions to them, or maybe when I start discussing something with them, that like some old problem that I was once stuck in, right? Like, how did you do this? I was thinking that this is the problem, and we should have used Terraform maybe to solve this or something like that. So when I get into those kinds of discussion, then these kind of people kind of back off because they don't have enough knowledge, but they just claim that they know web dev, right? So I mean, to make a difference, just go deep inside your field, build a lot of things, and hone your skills to perfection. Right, that would make a difference, because average web developers, there are a lot of average developers out there, but good web developers is a scarcity in our tech industry. I mean, to be very honest. What to do if I am stuck in tutorial hell? Currently, I am learning React, and I have GraphQL and TypeScript lined up. Besides that, what project should I make? Clones are just too cliche now. Okay, so I mean, uh, what to do if I'm stuck in tutorial hell? So this is the question that I've already answered, in one of my videos. See, the thing is that if you're watching any tutorial, and if let's say that tutorial is teaching you how to build a YouTube, right? And I understand that clones are kind of cliche right now. I mean, I completely align myself with that statement, but they are cliche in the sense that I mean, clones are still going to get you a job at the end of the day. Why? Because you're still a student. You don't have experience. Without experience, what are you going to build? I mean, either you have a business, side to yourself. Either you're business minded and you're, building, focusing on your own product. Because if you build your own product, right? If you build your own product, it's not that easy. You have to, get the UI UX ready. If you're a designer yourself, then you'll have to spend some time design. And if you're a designer yourself, then that's the best thing that you can do. Maybe design some sort of application, have a design and try to build that sort of application, right? But if you're not a UI UX designer, if you have no design skills at all, then I think clones are the best option, because they still demonstrate the skills that you have. And as long as you understand what you have built line by line, right, then it is going to make a difference in any interview that you give, right? And to escape tutorial hell, I mean, it's kind of simple. If let's say you're watching a tutorial on how to build, let's say, YouTube, right? How to build YouTube. So instead of building YouTube, what other application can you think of that is pretty similar to YouTube? Maybe Netflix, maybe Hotstar, something like that. So clone those applications. You're watching a tutorial on how to build YouTube, clone Hotstar or Netflix instead, right? Because in that way, what will happen is that it is going to give you, sorry, so it is going to give you the confidence, and your entire code would be written by yourself, right? It's not like that if you got stuck somewhere, you can just refer to the tutorial and quickly check that how did you solve this problem, or what did you exactly do to build this functionality. You don't have that option anymore, because you're building an entire different thing, right? So what will happen is that you'll have to do your own research. You'll have to google the questions yourself. You'll have to find the answers to those questions yourself. You'll have to understand what is happening in that tutorial, in order to build something similar, right? Because if you don't understand how it is being done, then you won't be able to replicate it, right? Because you cannot exactly copy paste things here, right? So you cannot replicate stuff here. So if you don't have understanding about it, right? So try to build that understanding by building something that is similar to what the tutorial is teaching, not exactly that. In that way you will know each and every line of your code base, and you'll know what functionality did I build where, right? Because when you give interviews, people are going to ask that how did you implement this search functionality, or how did you implement this. If you're building a wish an e-commerce, people are going to ask how did you implement this e-commerce functionality, or maybe the wish list functionality, or how your cart is working, or things like that. So you need to know your code to the depth in such a way that if someone asks any of these questions, you can directly point them towards the file that they you can directly point them towards the file that contains that code, and you can explain it to them directly from there, right? So that's how clear you should be on whatever you are building. And yeah, I mean, you can watch that video. I think it's a 12-minute video or something. Um, how to learn, I think that was the title of the video. I don't remember. How to learn the in-depth concepts of some tech stack, like example Linux. So Linux is a very bad example for this if you want to go in depth, because if you're trying to go in depth into some field, it kind of takes experience as well. I mean, you can have as much knowledge as you want through books, you can have as much knowledge as you want through documentations and things like that, but I mean, ultimately, the thing is that, when you start applying it, when you start using these things in real life, that is when, you'll start grasping all these concepts, right? So experience is one thing, but if you really want to go in depth, if you say that I'm going to practice whatever I'm learning and things like that, if that is what your approach is, then I guess the best way is to, go through some written content, right? Because for the videos that are there, videos are going to get you started with that technology, but in order to learn in depth, you'll need some notes, right? So even if you're watching some video, create notes on the go, right? You can always refer to books. Books are the best resources sometimes to learn stuff. And documentations, yeah, I mean, documentations are also there. And even a lot of people have created a lot of repositories on different things, right? So if, let's say, you're someone who is interested in blockchain, or if you're someone who is interested in Linux or DevOps or things like that, what you can do is you can simply make a Google search about best DevOps repositories, repositories out there. I'll just quickly make a search. So best DevOps resource repository, right? So a simple uh, search, and I'll add a GitHub after that as well, so that I get GitHub thing. And the first link that I get, not the ad, but the first link that I get, right, is this link. I'm going to share this link in the chat as well, and I'm going to share this link as a comment as well in the this. I cannot yet add comments, but I'll add this link later, right? So I mean, that's how simple it is, just to find resources, and once you find these resources, just go through them one by one. If it clicks with you, then fine. If not, then you already know the terminology, so do some research on your own. Eventually, you'll start getting good and good at it, right? Hey Apoorv, can I follow your bootcamp after my 12th boards? Yes, of course. um, भाई नियोजी कैंप के बारे में कुछ बता देना if you're aware whether to join. It's a coding web dev bootcamp, 35k INR. 35k INR is a big no for me. I mean, whatever the product is, it's a big no for me, because I mean, in today's time everything is available online, all the resources are available online, so I don't find any point why you would have to pay 35,000 rupees for a course for a curated list of resources that they'll share. Because just as I showed you for DevOps, you can search for any technology out there, for mobile development, for web development, for blockchain, for Linux, whatever it is. Just make a simple Google search, you'll find like a lot of resources that are out there. Where are you from? I'm like born and brought up in Delhi only. So I mean, I've like all my childhood I've been in Delhi. After completing my 12th, I started traveling. But currently, I'm again in Delhi. When is the boot camp resuming? Maybe from next weekend. Hello, sir. I'm a beginner. Don't know much. Uh, then start learning. Suleiman says that I look like a gay. Thanks, bro. I'm not a gay though. I had a girlfriend earlier, and I'm not interested uh, in homo stuff. So you have your answer there. You have any video on channel for freshers? Like, what do you mean? What do you need as a fresher? Tell me that, and I'll tell you if I have a video or not. What do you need as a fresher? How to choose open source organizations? I think I'll create a video on that maybe. So can we assume the bootcamp will be resumed this month? Yes, I mean definitely the bootcamp will be resumed this month, no matter what, and it will be resumed maybe within a week only. So you don't have to worry about that. Tell something about web development, its future, trend, scope, etc. So web development, a lot of people say that AI is going to take over web development and things like that, but I think that web development is not going anywhere, because for any product that you build, a basic website is kind of a necessity at this point of time. Because I mean, in today's world, Google is the tool that majority of the population uses, and Google brings you the website links and things like that. So if I came across a product, maybe BizGurukul was one product, right? That I think someone pointed out in this live, right? So I came across BizGurukul. The first thing that I do is I Google about BizGurukul, like what the hell is BizGurukul, right? So I Google about it, and I find a website, right? So website, these websites are always going to be there, right? No matter whatever, how far the things go. And some people say that in today's time there are a lot of no code platforms or things like that, that kind of build the applications by a simple drag and drop, and you don't have to do anything with it. But see, the thing is that even these websites, they have some components that are web development related components that are written to it, right? All they are doing is they are just providing you an interface, right, to drag and drop these things, and the code snippet for that component will be placed there in the code that you're building by simply dragging and dropping. If you guys have ever worked with WordPress or Shopify, or if you're aware about them, right, they are simply to create websites and things like that. But again, I mean, these platforms, they contain a lot of add-ons and things like that, that are again coded by some developers, right? Again, web development it is. And even if if I talk about let's say WordPress, then WordPress is based out on PHP, right? So again, you need some web development if in order to customize your website. If let's say the WordPress is not offering you the features to customize enough, right, then you can obviously customize it on your own, maybe just go through its source code and make some changes or things like that. If you talk about Shopify, right, Shopify, again, they have their own some sort of, I don't remember the name of the technology, but they have some technology through which they have written their entire front end. But that technology is almost like React.js, because earlier, I mean, maybe last year, I worked on a website that was somewhat on it, that was on Shopify, right? And I had to do some customizations into that website. So what I did was I just simply did some um, changes to the code. And when I was making those changes to the code, I kind of felt that that code closely resembled what React.js is, because it was component based. And as it is expected from a Shopify website, because they offer you a lot of components, right? You can remove them, you can change where they are, align them, and things like that. So web development is a field that is not going anywhere in the future. The scope is enormous in this. I mean, in web development. I mean, even if you look at big brands that are there, all of that contain their web applications and things like that. So that is there. And there are a tremendous amount of develop. And the thing is, I mean, see, to be very honest, I know that majority of the market that is out there in today's time, the resource pool of the developers, that consists mostly of web developers. But as I say again and again, there's a scarcity of good web developers, because majority of them are average web developers. And the concept I told you about earlier, about the T-shaped development and things like that, that is something which is like going to make you stand out of the rest of the crowd, right? So all of that is there in web development. When will you be hosting the competitions and projects? Yeah, so projects are going to go alongside the front end front end course. So as we start building front end applications and things like that, projects are going to entail all of those front end applications. I mean, see, the idea is that I'll give you a little brief about what I was planning, right? So um, basically, once we build the virtual tech schools website, what will happen is that we'll have what I'll do is I'll build a YouTube clone in front of you guys, right? So I'll build an entire YouTube clone, right? But parallelly, what I'll do is I'll create a completely empty repository for a Netflix clone, right? And what I want you guys to do is, while you are learning how to build a YouTube clone, what you have to do is you have to attempt how to build a Netflix clone, right? You have to attempt it on your own, and gradually you will also have to make some contributions into that empty Netflix repository, right? Just in order to complete the entire Netflix front end, right? And even for YouTube, I mean, I'll not complete the entire application and build a few technical pages and things like that. Maybe like this page, the one in which you're watching this video, this page would be a part of it, the home page would be a part of this, the channel page would be a part of it, the reels page, not reels, it's shorts, right? So the shorts page would be a part of it, right? So all of these pages would be a part of it. But if you look at YouTube behind the scenes, it has a lot of pages, right? So I mean, that's where the projects come into picture, where you'll be building something which is similar to what I am building, but not exactly that, right? And for competitions, once we are done with this front end, uh, you know the basic front end, then I mean I'll bring in some projects that are going to be difficult ones, and they are going to be the beginning of the competition. So the competition, again, I mean, it would be maybe it kind of depends on the timeline as well, because if the time is not right and a lot majority of you are having exams and stuff, then there's going to be a like a 1 month or a 2 month timeline for the competition to end. But if let's say the time is right and most of you are free and things like that, then I mean these competitions, they are going to be, I guess, a couple of weeks to 1 month long. It kind of depends on how many projects are going to be there in the competition. And even for competition, I'll give you a little hint about what it's going to be. So even in the competitions, what will happen is that I'm going to, let's say, assumingly, that I come up with three different applications that I want you to create in that competition, right? So the criteria to be a part of the competition would not be that you just create a single application out of those three. The criteria to be eligible for the competition would be that you submit all three applications, right? And why you should submit all three applications in order to be eligible for the competition is simply because, I mean, in professional world, you are going to work a lot with the deadlines, right? You are going to have deadlines, for completing your task. You are going to have deadlines for doing a lot of stuff, and you would be under a lot of pressure and stress, right? So learning how to handle that pressure and stress and delivering before the deadline is something that I want to induce within you as a student, right? Because professionally, when you come across all these things, it kind of gets very overwhelming, right? So I want you to experience that kind of crunch while being a student. So that's why there are going to be multiple projects, and in order to be eligible for that competition, you have to complete all of those projects. If even one of the project is left out, you would not be a part of that competition, right? So that's how it is going to work. That's how I have planned at this point of time. I might make some tweaks or change it a little bit, but that is the basic general idea, right? When will the bootcamp complete? So I mean, I initially, I think that the bootcamp would be completed somewhere mid around next month, maybe June or July. That will be the time when the bootcamp will be completed. But it would be completed in the sense that there would not be, a lot of there would be a lot of content available for you to already start applying for jobs, but the entire course wouldn't be completed. I mean, it would keep going on for a very long time because technology is something that keeps evolving, so we cannot just create one course and get stuck with it for the rest of our lives. We need to keep improving and things like that. So that's how it's going to be. And again, I mean, I want to implement some other things that I didn't mention in my roadmap as well. Things like how you are basically how you are basically take care of the design systems that are there, different design patterns that are there, and how you get engaged with system design, how you create an architecture of the application, how you come up with the architecture of the application based on whatever application you have to build and things like that. There are a lot of different frameworks for development also. So I mean, I want to take you down in that road as well, brief you about all of what all that is about. So that is there. How much time will it take to complete the front end? Uh, I mean, in my estimate that I have done up until now, I think the front end playlist itself is going to be about 40 to 50 videos long, but there's one catch here. So the catch is that the initial couple of videos, the initial 2 3 videos are the ones that are taking some amount of time, but after that the next set of remaining 40 50 videos that are going to be there on the front end itself, they are not going to take as much time to create as these initial couple of videos, right? Because I'll already have the code for all of that. What I just have to do is to break down that code and create a video explaining while writing that code, right? So I mean, that's how it's going to be. So, I mean, it may sound like 40 50 videos are a lot of time, but I mean, once we are through with this initial couple of videos, then I mean, we'll enter a phase where we can have about at least 3 videos in a week. I mean, that's something that is quite achievable because each and every video is not going to take more than 3 4 hours to make, right? And these are, I'm talking about long videos here, right? Long videos as in 2.5 hours of videos, they won't take more than 5 hours to make each and every video, right? So I mean, then we can pace up the bootcamp, right? Because I still I mean, since I haven't created content since a very long time, I even need to make up for it because I mean, I had an objective in mind that I want to complete this much till this point of time, which I'm obviously falling short behind. So I need to make up for that as well. So it's not like I'm going to rush things through and skip things in the middle. I'm not going to do that. But the general gist is that I am going to gradually I'm going to start uploading more frequently. Because I mean, since I'll already have the content ready, it's just about shooting and uploading, which is not that hard of a part. The main part is to get the content ready. How to maintain health while coding hard. Just limit your time, how much you're coding, limit your screen time, right? Take some time off to watch some Netflix or things like that. So I mean, for example, last month, when I was like still trying to replicate or things like that. What I did was I went to Netflix and I watched the entire Naruto. Right? I mean, Naruto is something that a lot of people say that it's a good anime and things like that. And I just kind of was bored to death and things like that. So I just went on to watch the entire Naruto. Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. It's like 800 episodes or something, 20 minutes each, but I skipped all the fillers, so I just watched the canon part. And yeah, I mean, that was my way of and I was still coding every day, right? I was still doing all these projects and things like that. So I mean, I was coding all day. I used to code about 7 8 hours each and every day. But just to let the steam off, I used to watch Naruto. Maybe I coded for 2 3 hours, then watched 2 3 episodes of Naruto for an hour. Then again I sat for 2 3 hours. Again watched 2 3 episodes, and again, So I used to do it in this way, and that kind of kept me from burning myself out. Right, bro. I have started with learning quantum computing. Do you have any views, opinion on it? Quantum computing. Uh, I know a few books about quantum computing. I'll have to Ishan, right? Ishan, uh, you're in Shanu's server as well, right, Ishan? So I think for quantum computing, Shanu is the better person to answer this question, because he, in things like quantum computing and things like that, he is like at another level, right? So I mean, he's the one who he's going to help you more in this stuff than me. भैया वन थिंग मुझे 8 ऑफर्स मिले हैं, 5 फ्रंट एंड, 2 फुल स्टैक एंड 1 बैक एंड, एंड ऑल क्रेडिट गोज टू यू. दैट्स ऑसम राना. But I mean, the credit doesn't goes to me, the credit goes to you, because I mean, you were the person who were working hard behind the scenes, right? And you have always kept messaging me, bhaiya what to build, bhaiya what to learn, and things like that. So all I did was I just uh, gave you a few terminologies, ye pad lo, wo pad lo, ye bana lo, wo bana lo. But the thing is that you kept on working hard, so that is the reason why you're getting so many offers. And I'm glad that things are working out for you. But I mean, one thing that happens is that once you get those first set of offers, right, you start slacking off a lot, because you feel that you have made it, right? But that's not right. So keep working hard, and that is the mistake that I made as well. I mean, in my initial days, when after the span of 1 year, when I finally had was working on two stable jobs. One was full time, one was part time, and both were remote. One was in Melbourne, Australia, and one was in Bangalore. So while I was doing that, uh, I was making a lot of money, and I kind of slacked off that भाई अब तो हो गया. अब और नहीं करना जिंदगी में, अब इसे maintain करना है. And I kind of wasted a lot of time because of that, right? So I mean, don't get in that direction, because that was a mistake. I still regret that 1 year I did nothing. So um, don't do that, and keep working hard, keep maintaining the habits that you have already built. When will you be resuming Linux course? So as I mentioned in my blog as well, for Linux, I think I've already created most of the videos that I wanted to. There are some videos that remain, but those videos, if you are an absolute beginner, doesn't make sense you know to dive into that stuff, because that is going to confuse a lot of things for you, right? So my idea is that I want to first get you close to the things that resemble what things are left in Linux, and then I mean to make Linux videos in the middle based on that. So that is the general idea. And yeah, I mean, the Linux course in itself, I think, is about 70 to 80% complete, right? And the remaining videos, they would be keep coming in part, but they would come in part as the course progresses. How many Flask projects before I move on to Django? Maybe one or two projects is more than enough, and very simple projects, because I mean the major difference between Flask and Django is that Flask is a micro framework, so you have to set it up entirely from scratch. So it gives you a good idea about what happens behind the scenes. How do you set up the SQL alchemy, build models around it, and things like that. How you define the schema of your tables. It gives you a good idea about the MVC architecture. You have models, you have some views, you have a controller that is helping these views interact with the models and things like that. So Flask gives you a good idea about that, but as soon as you move to Django, Django is a complete framework and it comes with a lot of templates. I mean, it comes with, databases made pre-built, right? It comes with a dashboard. It already comes with login, sign up functionalities and things like that, right? So it has a lot of templates, Django. So it's better to spend, some time in Flask, maybe build a two, three projects, a couple of projects, and then, move to Django. Thanks, Devankar. Thanks for your for the compliment. I'm glad your friends are liking it. After how many weeks you'll start the backend? So to be honest, I think the backend part would be started in late October. I don't see it getting started before that. But I mean, I'm talking about hardcore backend right now. There's Firebase also in the middle that I wanted to teach you, where we'll be building serverless architectures and things like that, where we don't have an actual backend, but our application would still be functional with some backend functionalities, right? So all of that, you know, will be covered by the end of October, uh, but it might spill to November. I'm not sure about it. It kind of depends on how much how much do I want to develop in the front end course. But in current scenario, I think it would be spilled to November only, because I mean by the end of October I think that the front end is kind of huge. The back end is not going to be that big, and back end is relatively easy to build. Once you get the gist of it, you can apply the same principles, fundamentals and concepts to any back end that you're building. But for front end, you kind of need some variety, on different things, because there are a lot of elements that you want to understand how they work behind the scenes, and how you can use some third party libraries to aid your work, right? So that is going to be there. For backend, I mean, what we'll do is we'll give you a general gist about it, and after giving a general gist about it, we'll again start developing. But before diving into backend, I'll also create a micro course on Python as well, and I'm pretty excited about that Python course. I wish I could have skipped directly to the Python course, because that is something that I really want to do. I have some like some great things planned for it, right? And I'm pretty excited for it. And once we are through that, then I mean we are going to start with the backend. Do I need a bachelor's degree to work in the US? I have heard it's impossible to get H1B even when you have a job offer but don't have a degree. Uh, I'm not sure if you need a degree. See, I mean, if you want to work in a company that is based out on US, in US, then you don't need a bachelor's degree for that, because recently I got an offer from platform.sh. I mean, you might have heard about it. So recently I got an offer from them, from platform.sh, and they were completely fine me working remotely. Their office was based out on US, but since it's a big company and they have some offices in Europe as well, so they prompted me to join the Europe's office working remotely from India, right? So they were completely fine with it. Now if I want to move to US, then I'm not sure what the process is. I mean, if I actually need a degree or not. But you might be right that I mean, in order to settle in US, you might need a degree. If you are getting an H1B visa, Right, but I mean that's something that I don't do not aspire for, because I don't want to move to US or one particular place as such. What I plan to do from next year is I want to travel. So I mean, the general idea is that since we are having a very casual session here, the general idea that I had in mind earlier was that later on, maybe in 1 year or something. See, I am a big travel freak, right? I love to travel, and more so I love to go on hiking and treks and things like that, right? I've went on a lot of trekking and things, and I even plan to scale, at least go to the Mount Everest base camp, if not Mount Everest peak. But yeah, I mean, it depends on the fitness as well. But yeah, I mean, the general idea that I had in mind, what I wanted to do was that I just wanted to, create a good course on YouTube. And once that course is created, I also wanted to start a vlogging channel with a theme, right? So a lot of people start a vlogging channel without a theme, without anything that is there. But I want to start a vlogging channel with a theme, where I want to keep a 12 months theme. And I mean, for next year, what I planned was that when I start this vlogging channel, I'll have a theme of 12 months, 12 countries, right? So each month I'll be traveling to a different country, and I'll be just shooting some vlogs. I'm not into that touristy stuff or anything like that. I'm more into exploring the local culture, meeting the local people and things like that. The unseen things of any place. So I'm more into that. That is not that forward, but still quite beautiful, right? So that's what I wanted to do, like 12 months, 12 countries, where I spend my 12 months traveling into 12 different countries and shooting some vlogs on it. And then after that, I mean, I could do that 12 months, 12 peaks, right? I tried to scale 12 different peaks in 12 months. Right, so like having these sorts of themes, right, with my vlogs. So that's what I want to do, because that would even enable me to get a rich experience. And I'll be able to vlog better and share my experiences better, where if you guys ever want to travel, or if you want to join me in traveling, then I mean, you would know what to expect in those trips, right? I mean, I'm completely open. If at some point of time, if I'm going somewhere, and any one of you pings me that can I join, I don't mind that. I mean, it's the more the merrier kind of a thing, right? So I mean, some of the folks even message me that bhaiya, I'll work very hard, and then after a certain amount of time, I'll start traveling with you. Ayush is one of them. Ayush is one of the student. He even this morning he pinged me that I'll go to Expo Dubai Expo with you sometime later. So yeah, I mean, I'm completely open with that, and I just don't want to stick at one place. So I never gave it a thought if I want to US, if I need a degree or not. More like I think most probably I do not need a degree, but if I don't need a degree and I still want to live in US, I need to have a very high profile. I mean, in terms of career, I need to be established in my career. And for H1B visa, it might be possible that they need a degree, but even in that case, I think I know a person who is settled in United States without a degree. So I think it kind of matters. It kind of becomes difficult for the company to hire you if you don't have a degree, right? Because as I explained in my things to consider before dropping out of college video, there are some companies who already have these large frameworks created, and these large frameworks, are somewhat flexible for their local employees. But if they are hiring someone from a foreign country, then these protocols are even stricter, right? And changing these protocols take a lot of time. So if let's say you're working in a startup, right? If a US based startup, and you don't have a degree, then there are chances that you might still get the visa, right? If not the H1B visa, what there are certain loopholes around it, right? I mean, you can spend about 6 months in US, come back to India, spend a couple of weeks here, then again go back to US for 6 months or something like that. So there are a lot of loopholes also around this thing. So you can check that out. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. How old are you? I'm currently 23 years old. I'm going to turn 24 this year. And when did you pass 12th? I completed my 12th in 2017. When is your birthday? My birthday is on 17th October. Thanks, Shubham. Any advice on where to apply for remote internship? So Shubham, I mean for remote internships, what you can do is that I mean currently there are a lot of platforms like remote.com and things like that. But I feel that in today's time, the best way to apply for internships and things like that is to just keep searching on. Uh, keep searching on Twitter. On Twitter there are a lot of opportunities posted daily. Just use the search option of Twitter, search for the term internship and your stack: front end internship, back end internship, DevOps internship, or whatever it is, and you'll find plenty of people who have, or companies who have posted about it with their application forms. So just click on those forms, fill them, and you'll come across a lot of internships through that. Rutam says that Kunal deleted his vlogging channel. No worries. I have it uploaded on my Instagram account as well. I'll share the link of the video. Yeah, this was the video. So this was the video with me flaunting my long hair. Thanks for motivating words. Love from Assam. Thanks, Bivasha. What type of projects are counted as good projects, and do they have to be unique? The projects that are completed are, you know, called as good, counted as good projects, because majority of the projects that you will start will never get completed. So they don't have to be unique at all. It's just that you need to have a deep understanding about your code and you need to complete that project. Just don't leave it halfway through, because that will won't be counted as a good project in any case. Saw your podcast with your friend and your story really motivates. Thanks, Adarsh. I think that story is like a part of the entire story. That's not the entire story. My entire story is even more brutal, I guess. But I mean, I haven't planned on it, but I might share it someday. I mean, it kind of depends, because I mean, sharing all that stuff will take a lot out of me. So I just need to be prepared before sharing, you know, what happened exactly. Because I mean, the podcast that I did with Rahul, well, you're talking about that podcast only, right? Geeky Sauce, his channel, right? So the podcast that I did with him, it contains a part of my story, but that's not exactly the entire story. So yeah, I mean, but thanks. I mean, thank you for your compliment. What all can we achieve in 2.5 years? You can achieve a lot within 2.5 years. I mean, how much did I achieve within my 2.5 years? I don't remember exactly about my 2.5 years, but I started in what? I started in 2018, 19. Okay, so I don't remember exactly like what happened after 2.5 years. But I mean exactly after 1.5 years of starting out, and I worked really hard for it. Exactly after 1.5 years of starting out, I was on a 20 LPA package. So I mean, it was not like I worked extremely hard. As I said, the first year that I worked extremely hard. But after that, for the next 6 months or so, I kind of slacked off. The entire year I slacked off. But since we are talking about 1.5 years, then the last 6 months I completely slacked off. But still, after that point of time, I was at a package of 20 LPA in hand. Right. So I'm not talking about tax deductions or anything. After all the tax were deducted and everything, I used to have 1.65 or 1.7 lakhs per month in my hand. Right. So that's where I was after my 1.5 years. And my package was about 2.24 LPA, I guess. That's why I used to get 20 LPA in hand. in a year. But yeah, I mean, so in 2.5 years you can do even better than that. And as I'm saying, I slacked off one entire year after my first year. The second year was like non-existent for me in terms of career. So you can achieve even better. I mean, who knows, right? Why, as a fresher and non-IT student, which is the best Java full stack and MEM full stack? My friend had confusion about it. Uh, See, I mean the same thing. If you want to go into Java full stack, just search Java full stack resources repository GitHub, right? That simple search is going to, find you a lot of resources, and you can go through them, and find what resource clicks for you. Whatever clicks for you, just start, utilizing that resource. How can I get remote internship in second year of college for web dev? Start building some projects, and I'm sure you'll get some internships. When will you be starting web dev course? Please reply. It would resume from next week. But I'm very confused that I should prepare from NIMCET or do web dev and add some projects in my portfolio, please. Uh, I have no idea what NIMCET is. Entrance exam for NITs. What should I do? See, I mean, if you really want to go and study into NIT or something like that, then yeah, if you really want to study in NIT, then spend some time in doing like researching for NIT and studying for NIT for your exam, and then once you're in it, then you can start focusing on your studies. But I mean, see, coming out from a better college, I know that coming out of from a better college, it kind of adds as a badge in your profile, and it would be easier for companies and people to filter you out. But still, I mean, skills are supreme, right? So if you're good at skills, then it doesn't matter what your background is from. But having it from NIT or triple ITs or IIT, it kind of makes it a little bit easier, right? That I won't deny, right? So that is there. But again, I mean, ultimately, if you are skilled, then since people are not going to have the filters of which college did you study from or things like that, it would be a little bit hard to find you, right? But that's where learning in public comes into picture. If you keep learning in picture public and things like that, then people will automatically start noticing you, right? And even if you don't have a degree, or you don't have a degree from a reputed institute or college or something like that, people are still going to acknowledge you, right? And once they start acknowledging you, then more and more people are going to start finding you. And when more people are going to start finding you, they are going to eventually hire you, right? So I mean, that's why, I mean, having skills is extremely important. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to. I mean, if you really want to study in NIT, then you can, spare some time preparing for it. There's no harm in, preparing for entrance exams, at least trying for entrance exams, right? It is advisable for to learn blockchain development after learning front end. Before learning blockchain development, first learn blockchain, because blockchain, if you don't understand blockchain, then web3 is like I mean, people who are still working on web3 without understanding how blockchain works behind the scenes and what blockchain exactly is, in my opinion, are fools, right? Because I kind of tried it myself. I directly jumped into web3 because one of the projects that I was working on, it kind of required some web3 knowledge, so I directly worked in, like, jumped into web3, like what web3 is, and started coding in it. But couple of days down, I started realizing that until and unless I know blockchain, I'll just keep finding some jugaad or something around my code and just deliver what I have to, but I won't understand a single thing about what is happening, what exactly am I doing, right? So you should spend some time studying blockchain first, how it works behind the scenes and things like that. Once you are through with it, then you can obviously jump to blockchain development, and you don't even need front end skills for that, because I mean blockchain development, it's more about using web3 and how you interact with those blockchain APIs, right? And yeah, so they are two completely separate things, but if you know front end along with blockchain, then it becomes a full stack for blockchain, right? So how to balance DSA and learning web dev and creating projects. So see, I mean, don't utilize all your time, Tanmay, in DSA. What you should do is you should, take out some dedicated amount of time, maybe 2 hours in a day, to spend on, your DSA. And once you spend those 2 hours in your DSA, once that is over, the rest of the remaining time spend on, learning about web development. And don't just learn it first and then build projects, because if you're saying that you know learning web dev and creating projects, so learn by doing, right? Create projects and learn by creating projects, right? And Yeah, I mean, so if you take out your 2 hours of time in learning DSA and then spend the rest of your time in doing web dev and creating projects, then eventually, because if you spend entire time doing DSA and then after a certain amount of time when you have built certain expertise in DSA, you move to web dev, you're going to again spend a couple of months doing web dev. By the time you're completed with web dev and you try to come back to DSA, you would realize that you have gotten out of touch and you have forgotten a lot of things, right? So DSA is something that needs to go parallelly with whatever field you are choosing, be it DevOps, be it web development, be it mobile development, be it blockchain, right? DSA is something that needs to go parallelly with whatever you are doing, so that you don't forget it, because DSA is about problem solving, and problem solving, just like maths, is about practice. The more questions you practice, the more better you get at it, right? So now in today's time, I mean, it's what it's about 5 years since I completed my 12th. If you come to me with a partial integration question that was asked in 12th, I would score a zero in that, because I mean it's been so long since I've been out of touch. It's not like I don't know the concept, but solving a question on paper is not possible at this point of time. It's been so long since I've been not doing maths, right? And so yeah, I mean it's all about practice, and you need to make sure that you're taking out some time for DSA. I even created a video on this. If you want to learn some tips and tricks about DSA, how to learn it, I created a short 7-minute video. You can and I mean, most of the things are kind of something that you'll find in other videos as well, but there were a few personal tips, for some personal tricks on how I prepare for interviews, when I used to prepare for interviews for DSA round specifically. So you can go through that section. It should be about 2-3 minute section, and that will give you a great idea about how you should approach learning DSA. I had heard that they first ask for DSA before assigning roles. Is it possible to get a job even before doing DSA? Uh, it depends on roles to role. So most of the technical roles are going to have DSA rounds and they're going to ask about DSA. There are still some roles and some companies who do not prefer DSA as much, and it won't even be a part of your coding interview. Mostly startups, I mean, the well established companies, they still give a greater weightage to DSA, but the newly coming upcoming companies, they are more focused on your technical skills and your practical skills, uh, through which you're building an application. I think I lost a lot of comments in the middle. I was reading blogs on just integration test and later faker.js to insert new data in DB. Since faker.js no longer exists, how should I delete data after integration test from DB? Please help me out. Just write some scripts. I mean, what I do is, if I'm working with Flask or Django, what I do is I create a CLI command, right? And inside that CLI command, I simply call. Have what I generally do is I create a seeder script, right? A script that is going to seed the data in the database, because I need sometimes you need some data to already be there in the database, right? To test, to perform your unit in integration and functional tests, right? So what I do is I write a seeder script and I create some CLI commands in my application. And these CLI commands, I generally just create two CLI commands, right? One is to recreate DB, right? Delete the existing DB and create a new one with the similar name, right? And the second thing that I do is to seed DB. If I want that database to be populated with some data, I just write a script that will populate the data into the database, and I just create a CLI command for that. So you can create these two CLI commands, recreate and seed DB. It helps immensely, with web development stuff. uh, so you can do that. How long does it take to get the freelancing gig? Well, your first freelancing gig might take a lot of time, but later on, it would become more and more easier for you, to get freelancing gigs as you start getting some ratings on your profile, or you start having a you have a great portfolio that people can look into. And keep your bids personalized. Whatever projects you're bidding on, or whoever you're approaching for any freelancing project or gig, keep it very personalized. Like, what exactly is that one thing that you can add that no other person will be adding, and to the service that you're providing to your client, right? So it could be that you're offering some iterations, some extra iterations. Maybe the clients want some things changed after they have you have completed the application. They might want some things changed, right? So you're giving them those changes free of cost. You are maintaining a good personal relationship with them, right? You are available for meetings at odd hours, right? Maybe the client is based out on USA and they prefer their meetings at a point where it's midnight around here or things like that. So the more comfort you offer to the client, and the more perks of services that you offer to the client, along with a portfolio that you have already built, which the client looks at it and he feels that it's a great portfolio, and you are the person who can actually deliver, along with the perks that you're offering, you're eventually going to get that gig, right? So just try to create a USP for you, your unique selling point, right? USP is like unique selling point. It is used heavily in startups and companies and things like that. So start finding that USP for you, create that USP as a service, right? And offer that service to your clients, and eventually you are going to start getting gigs, right? I'll make a detailed video on this. Sir, can you tell me cybersecurity prerequisite? Prerequisites for cybersecurity is, again, you need to be very good with Linux. So my Linux course is the one that can get you started, but even that would not be enough. So you'll have to refer to some books if in order to get started with, get really good with Linux. And then once you are done with it, then the next thing that you can do is you can start exploring all these different tools that are there, that are used for hacking, things like I think Metasploit, and um, there's one tool known as Shark and things like that. There are various tools used by ethical hackers and cybersecurity experts. So you can give those tools a try. And but before giving them a try, you need to be really good with Linux, and the system as a whole. How much compensation should one expect as a fresher remote developer? There is no data for Indians working in US based companies. So even as a fresher, if you have the skills, then I guess what some of the US companies, in my opinion, do is that, since you have different tax brackets, right? I mean. see, the currency value is different for all the countries. I mean, um, I'll give you an example. So $100,000 that are there in USA is not equal to 80 lakh rupees in India, right? $100,000 package in USA is going to be considered as a 30 to 35 LPA package in India, right? And the reason for that is simple. You look at the expenses that are there in US. A simple house, if you want to buy or if you want to mortgage a house, right? Or if you want to go get some groceries, buy a new car, the basic day-to-day expenses or lifestyle expenses that you're going to incur, they are going to be extremely high in USA compared to their prices in India. So that $100,000 that is there in USA is not going to be 80 lakh rupees in India. It is going to be equivalent to 30 to 35 LPA in India. And there was a global currency index for this, I guess that was the term. See, I'll share a answer with you on Quora, right? So the first answer, if you read it, the guy has explained it pretty beautifully, but I think he's kind of under exaggerating stuff with by saying 22 to 25 LPA. I think it's equivalent to 30 to 35 LPA in my experience, right? And that answer is 1 year old, so maybe I mean, it might have changed within that year, but yeah, I mean the general idea is that that 100K is not equivalent to uh, you know 70 80 LPA in India, right? So I mean the compensation you can expect as a fresher, right, would be something close to about 20-25 LPA even if you are working remotely in a US based company. But the thing is that this 20 LPA that you're going to get as a fresher working remotely in a US company, this is going to be tax free, right? Because then these companies, what they do is they offer you some tax benefits. So this 20 LPA that is going to be offered to you might be in hand, and the additional tax that is going to be paid to the government, that might be paid directly from the company to the government, right, without deducting anything from your salary. So you'll get all these things. And if you are working remotely for a US based company, then you are going to get some joining bonus as well. Joining bonus is usually, I guess, about 2000 to $3000 or something like that. And that is generally your money. You can do whatever with it. You can set up your system, you can buy a new laptop, you can buy a new camera, whatever you want, to get you started with the work. So that is going to be a joining bonus. Along with that, you are also going to get some benefits that are there, benefits like health benefits and travel benefits, leave benefits and things like that. All of that you're going to get. And apart from that, the work culture is pretty chill. No one cares how much time you're working as long as you're getting things done, right? And yeah, I mean, all of that is there. Now, the only thing is that if that company that you're applying to, if that company that you're applying to, doesn't have some sort of, system setup through which they can pay the tax to the Indian government, right? If they don't have that sort of system set up, then they might be hiring you on contract basis instead of a full-time job, right? Now, a lot of people, say that the job is contract, so what is the guarantee? But that's not the thing. I mean, it's contract just on paper, but you'll be still be treated as a full-time employee, where you'll again get the joining bonus, you'll again have all the, health benefits and things like that. It's just on paper, a contract that renews after every 6 months or so, right? But it's never like going to be like you are treating as a contract based employee. You are going to be treated equally as a full-time employee, right? So it's just something on paper, because there's no work around it. And the company cannot directly pay the tax to the government, so they hire you on contract and pay the tax to some third party or something like that, right? Thanks, Animesh. Best book for web development. So, Aditi, there's no as such good book for web development that is going to teach you the complete web development of it. There are different, things for front end. There are different things for back end. There are different books for database and things like that. So again, I mean, you can go to. I'll maybe tweet about some GitHub, resource repositories after that. I mean, since that has been like brought up more oftenly in this conversation, what I'll do is after maybe tomorrow or something, I'll just curate a list of all the GitHub repositories that contain a lot of resources for different, technologies like blockchain and Linux and web development, DevOps, mobile development. I'll curate a list and I'll just, create a thread on it on Twitter, right? Rizwana asked that they say that the future of coding is no coding, means there won't be any need of programmers in future. Is that valid in any sense? So I mean, who is going to code these no coding platforms? I mean, my question is that who is going to code these no coding platforms, right? That are going to eliminate the needs of developers. Who is going to create these platforms? Developers, right? So it's just an innovation, but it's not like it's going to be the end of developers or something. How do I grow on Twitter and LinkedIn from zero followers? Uh, Join some Twitter spaces, speak in those Twitter spaces, maybe ask some questions, answer some queries. And one personal trick that I would share with you is that any Twitter space that you join, they, any big Twitter space that you join, they will always have a thread to ask questions, right? They create a tweet, and inside that tweet you can ask your questions, and people who are going through those questions can, answer, share their answers with you, right? So go to that thread where people are asking question. Even if you're not confident in speaking in that Twitter space, just go to that thread. There would be a lot of people who would have asked a lot of questions. Go through those questions, whatever questions you feel you can answer, just click on those questions, type your answer and submit, right? This way, I mean, if even if per Twitter space, if you answer about 10, 15, 20 questions, gradually, I mean, you are going to start picking up the pace, and once you pick up the pace, you'll eventually, start getting more and more followers. So I mean, if I talk about myself, right, um, I think I wasn't active on Twitter for the last 2.5 months, right? And my followers grew from 3,000 to 4.5 thousand, right? Without being active. Right. So that's the power of compounding your tweets, right? Or whatever content I've built in the past, whatever tweets whatever I've tweeted in the past, and whatever I've done in the past, that all compounded so much that even during this phase, I gained about 1.5 thousand followers, right? So, I mean, you can do all these things just to grow that initial base followers. And once that base of followers is created, after that, I mean, you can, just keep doing what you're doing, whatever your audience is expecting out of you, and it will eventually, keep growing. I'm not sure about LinkedIn, because even my LinkedIn is not that great. But I'm just talking about Twitter. For LinkedIn also, I mean, consistency is the key. Whatever tweets you are tweeting on Twitter, just copy paste them on LinkedIn, and eventually, I mean, that's how I've seen people grow. But I usually don't prefer LinkedIn myself. So Scream says that is this course beneficial for absolute beginners? Yes, it is being developed keeping in mind that the students uh, have no knowledge whatsoever. I mean, no prerequisites at all. Rizwana says, what do you mean by an average web developer? Can you please elaborate? So, by average web developer, I mean, if you went through my video about the T-shaped developer, then there are a lot of developers who are good with front end. There are a lot of developers who are good with backend. There are a lot of people, who are good with DevOps. Not DevOps. DevOps is like it's an entirely different role as well, right? And there are a lot of people who are good with DBMS and things like that, in managing projects, project managers and things like that. So UI UX design. So there are a lot of people who are good with different things, right? But I mean, all these people, in my opinion, I mean, if they are not extremely good at what they are doing, are considered as average developers, because as I explained in that video as well, in today's time what the industry demands is that for you to be a T-shaped developer, right? And if you can fulfill that criteria of being a T-shaped developer, where you can handle a lot of things, and you can watch that video to understand it in more depth. But if you can bring all of that into the table for any company, then you are always going to be considered as an above average developer, an exceptional developer, right? So that is the difference between average and exceptional developer. If you haven't watched that video, you can go watch that out, you will get a better idea. But my point being is that most of the developers only are skilled in one or two things. One thing at max, two is also, I mean, it also makes you above average. But most of the developers are only good at one thing, and not even good at one thing. I mean, most of the developers, they just write some code that is completely copy pasted or something, and it's not even good in terms of quality, like any other developer can work on it or something. We'll also talk about, when we do this course, we'll also talk about some good coding practices and standards that you should always keep in mind in order to make your code readable by other developers. Because if other developers cannot work on your code, then your code is worthless, right? Okay. How much knowledge in React enough to apply internship? It's not about knowledge, it's about projects. If you build a couple of projects in React, you can start applying for internships, because even in internships, a lot of people will give you a basic task like build an attendance application, right? Build an front end of an attendance application. So if you are able to build that, then you can apply for internships. And in order to test if you can build that or not, just build a few projects. How did you get a remote job without degree and without experience? Uh, with hard work, and I just like never considered myself as below anyone just because I don't have a degree. I always weighed myself in skills, and that's the confidence I showed to any interviewer I was giving interview with, and that kind of worked out for me. Sir, can I crack tech giants from now? I am in first year right now. Can you please guide me? Yes, you can definitely crack the tech giant companies if you're still in first year. Even if you're in third year, it's not that difficult to crack the tech giants in India. All you need to do is be good at DSA and build your profile in any one field, web development or anything. But your profile doesn't matter. If you're really good with DSA and whatever profile you're in, if you are decent in that, people are going to hire you. And these tech giants, once they hire you, then they would put you in any team. It could be that you're a mobile developer and you got a project that is based on web development, right? That is expected out of you as a developer. You shouldn't be stagnant with one thing, that I only know mobile development so I can't do web development, or I only know web development, I can't do web development. You cannot get stuck with it. You need to make sure that you are quite flexible in that. Thanks, Animesh. Bro, you are looking tired. Is everything fine? Uh, I'm not tired right now. Uh, everything is good. How much knowledge in React enough to apply for an internship? I think I've already answered. Can we expect to earn 30K per month via job or freelancing after completing the just the front end part? Uh, Not just the front end part, I would say. Uh, but yeah, if you want to make about 30,000 per month, then I guess 2 3 months from now you would be eligible to do that. That I can see. By the end of this year, you would be eligible to, if you follow the course, then by the end of this year you would be eligible enough to make that kind of money. Because see, these are basics, right? Uh, and with while we are talking about basics are something that are foundation for more advanced concepts. So if your basics are sorted, right, if your basics are sorted, then it won't be that you are making about 30, 40, 50,000 rupees per month. But if your basics are sorted, then you would be able to quickly grasp the concepts that actually make you money, right? And even if by the end of this year you're eligible to make about 25, 30,000 rupees per month, right, then don't think of it as something that if let's say 6 months of time is only going to make me 30,000, then how is 1 year's amount of time is going to make me more than a lakh or something. Don't think about it that way, because the concepts that are going to come after that are the ones that are actually money making, right? The basics that we're talking about are just fundamentals and foundation. Obviously you can start doing some freelancing based on that. You can even get some internships, although internships are not going to pay you 30,000 per month. But you can start doing some freelancing, and you can after the front end part I'm talking, you can start doing some front freelancing. I go on these platforms and things like that, and I see a lot of projects that are completely based on creating HTML from PSD, right? They have some Photoshop or Figma templates that are there, and they just ask you to create the HTML of it. So there are a lot of such projects that you can do. There are a lot of other types of projects as well. You can become a part of a team as well if you're really good with front end and things like that. But yeah, it's going to take some time, but by the end of this year you can definitely expect to make that much money, and even more than that. 30,000 is the kind of things that you will learn by then. 30,000 I don't think is that big of a deal. You can make much more than that. 50, 60, 70 is kind of easy. Datte bhaiyo. Hey Apoorv, I have started with Django and I had built a blog site, social media. Should I learn Flask or should I build more projects with Django, bhaiya? Uh, I think that if you are already worked with Django, then you can build a couple of more projects with Django, Prabhu. But you should also give a little bit of time to Flask as well. The reason being is that I explained earlier in the stream as well that since Flask is a micro framework, then it is going to help you immensely when you are you know talking about the fundamentals of how Django works, right? The MVC architecture that comes pre-built with Django, and the models that it already creates with SQL Alchemy and ORMs and things like that, and the how the views work and how it already comes up with dashboard and things like that. So all of these things, Django comes with a lot of templates, but in Flask you need to do everything from scratch. Even the project template that you create, you have to build it from scratch, right? So it is going to make your fundamentals stronger, Flask, in my opinion. But for Django also, you should build a little bit of more projects, and maybe after that you can give a little bit of time on how to build RESTful APIs with Flask, and try to explore a little bit of what blueprints are, and just how you do in Django, try to explore with SQL Alchemy in Flask and things like that, and things will start to work out. And I mean, I don't plan on teaching React Native, but it's a proxy of React. So I mean, once we do React, it's going to be easier after that to do React Native. How do I increase my work ethic? How do I increase my work ethic? Stuck at 6 to 7 hours per day. See, I mean, this is a habit, right? I mean, this is simply a habit. And the reason why I struggled the most in the past few months is that I lost that habit, right? I mean, initially I was working on projects and things like that. So all the habits that I built for myself, I lost it, right? And I'm trying to rebuild them right now, right? So it's not like 12 to 14 hours is easy in a day, and even I do not recommend more than 12 hours in a day. I mean, it kind of depends on your situation also. If you're not in that bad of a situation, then I mean, I wouldn't recommend more than 12 hours in a day, because that kind of burns you out no matter what, right? But for 12 hours per day, if you're stuck at 6 or 7 hours per day, then simply just try to increase it by a little bit of time each and every day, right? Each and every day, if you just log your time, right? Just use something like Toggle or something like that. Use those kinds of software. Log your time, like how much time you're actually working or doing studying or whatever it is. Log your time. Do it for 1 week. After that 1 week, try to see where you're spending most of your time and where you're wasting time, you feel you're wasting time or things like that. Once you analyze those things, try to reduce them gradually, and eventually, I mean, from 6 hours moving to 10, 12 hours is not that difficult, but it is time consuming. It is going to take at least 1.5 months, in my opinion. What do you think about front end plus data engineer? It's a good combination. I mean, you can do some data engineering and base the front end around it. It's a good combination. Can you tell us about Khera Shanu? Uh, Shanu Bhaiya is the one who has been my mentor back in the initial days. Uh, I mean, he's exceptionally talented, and he has about 5 years of more experience than me, because when he started mentoring me, he already had about 5 years of experience, and Shanu is an awesome like developer, a completely like co- computer geek, computer geek, and congratulations to him on getting engaged just a few days ago. Uh, yeah, I mean, I was waiting for the day when he'll finally get engaged. It's been a very long time since he's been saying that he'll get engaged and married and things like that. So I'm pretty happy that it finally happened for him. And yeah, I mean, in terms of tech, I mean, Shanu knows his stuff. I mean, he's one of the best developers I've ever come across. Like really knowledgeable. I mean, most of the things that I've learned, I mean, I've learned from him. And I mean, we spent about what we spent about 2 years together. I guess initially 1.5 years together. We spent about 1.5 years together. First we were in Dharamshala for 6 months, then we were in Delhi for 6 months, and then we were in Bangalore for 6 months. So we spent about 1.5 years together, together as flatmates. We spent that time together, and during that time I learned a lot of things from him, right? He didn't used to mentor me directly, but he used to just guide me a little bit. He learned this, learned that, Google this, Google that. Whenever I used to get stuck, I just used to, and by stuck I mean that if I'm coding something and I got stuck, I'll first try to find the answer to it myself, do some research myself. But if let's say, I spent about 3 4 hours into it, and after that I'm still stuck with it. Then I used to go to him and I used to ask that, "Yeah, I'm stuck with this. So what should I do?" And I mean, he didn't used to spoon feed me. He just used to give a very simple answer. Uh, Bro, search about this on Google. Bro, try this. Right? Just a like a one sentence answer. I would go back. I'll do that, and it's solved, right? So that's how, brilliant he was, I mean, in my opinion. So he's someone that, I still consider my mentor along with, being my friend. So thanks, Ayush. I've already written a blog about where I was, and I'm completely fine, thank you. What happens if this kind of situation regarding your finances occurs again? Are you prepared more for the next time? Yeah, I mean, this time around I've sorted it for a pretty long time, so it's not going to be an issue for uh, at least 5 6 months, I guess. But by then I think that, all the course that I'm creating or something, even YouTube is going to start generating some income. So I think that by the time I reach that point where I'm exhausting my finances again, I'll be at a point where, I'll be making something out of this as well, and I won't have to worry about, freelancing or anything like that, doing projects and, delaying the course any further. So yeah, I mean, this time I'm prepared for it. Thanks RTK. How will I get a job after learning Meta front-end development course with no BTech or engineering degree? Uh, yeah, I'm not sure about what Meta front-end development is. I haven't tried my hands on it. I've heard about it, and I'm not sure if, like, which companies are actually hiring for it, Shivang. So I mean, it's better that you reach out to someone who is already doing some job in Meta front-end development. They would be able to better answer you in that. Sorry for deviating, but your thoughts on India versus Pakistan tonight? Uh, well, I feel that I want a close game, right? I am not even sure who is batting. I'll just check. So India is batting first, and 54 for 0 is a good score. The team is also good, I think. Yeah, the team is awesome. Even Deepak Huda is playing, which is a good thing. And I mean, I don't care who wins, but I just want it to be a close game. I mean, the game that goes till the last over. One-sided games are just boring. I mean, you already know what is going to happen, so you just don't want to watch it anymore, or don't feel like watching anymore. Avikshit says that I am 22 years old. Am I late to start development? I don't think you're late to start development. I have a friend, and he's 31 years old he was 31 years old when he started development. Right now he's doing a decent job. I think about 60 70,000 per month is his salary, but it's only been about 1.52 years since he started, and since he started so late in his career, then, having that kind of setback. I mean, it's not exactly a setback, but it could have been better if he started earlier, right? But since he is 30, he was 31 when he started, and at this point of time, he's 33 and making that, 70 60 70,000 rupees a month. I think it's pretty great. So if you're 22, you're still pretty early and started coding. Actually, I used to feel that I was pretty late when I started coding when I was 18 years old. So but I wasn't that late, right? So even you are not late. In 2 3 years, maybe by the time you turn 25 26, you'll be at a great position in your career if you do the hard work. So don't worry about your age or anything like that. I mean, anyone can start at any time. What made you stand out as a dev in your own perception? Please, it's a serious question. What was or is your perception behind your success? Okay, so I mean, to be very honest, I think that I was the only person, I mean, out of all the folks that I used to know when I passed out of school, I was the only person who, was in a situation where I was not able to, even afford to go to a college or something like that. Right. So that kind of made me felt that I'm odd one out of all the people that are there. I'm just kind of odd one out, right? So it used to feel that way. And when I used to feel that I'm odd one out, out of all the people that are doing all studying in colleges and things like that, if I am the odd one out, then maybe I'm meant to do something, you know that is kind of odd, like that is something that not everyone is able to achieve, right? Or not, an average person is able to achieve. So that was the perception that I used to have about me, that I'm meant to do something, and I'm meant to do something that stands odd out of every average thing that any person does, right? That's what I had in my mind. And on top of that, since I was already going through a lot of stuff and things like that, what was the final thought that I had in my mind before I actually before I actually started working hard. The final thought that I had in mind was, uh, that I've got nothing to lose, right? So in a scenario where I have nothing to lose, why not give it a try, right? And why not give it my best shot if I'm even trying. So that was the general idea behind when I started. And I gave it my best shot. I put in everything I could. I, did a lot of stuff. I mean, I wouldn't like to like reveal, but I did a lot of stuff in my initial days. And yeah, I mean, eventually things started working out, right? So I mean, that was the thing. And my general perception, I mean, to be very honest, my general perception is that even the people who are successful out there, they are just humans, right? We are all humans. We all, are built up of the same cells. We are all, built up with the same composition and things like that. So it's not like they are something extraordinary or things like that. It's just like they have built a process around it. They have built some habits around it, the people who are successful. And they have a certain mindset and a certain thinking process, that helps them take better decisions than an average person or others, right? So I just wanted to adapt into those things, build those habits, build those skills, and build that mindset, build that thinking process within me, right? And that's why I chose meditation and things like that, where I can actually just sit back and analyze what the hell other people are doing. And what, like, just kind of spend some time sitting on their shoes or standing on their shoes and just trying to think about where they are coming from, right? I used to do it daily. Like, even if I'm a lot of times what happens is that I when I used to uh, I mean, stay out. Um, I mean, some of you might have known about it, but used to smoke some cigarettes, right? So I mean, whenever I used to go smoking cigarettes, and I'm talking about when I was in Bangalore or when I was in Delhi and things like that, I used to especially in Bangalore, when I was in Bangalore, it was like an IT hub around there, right? So the point where I used to go for a tea and a cigarette, a lot of techies would come around there, right? So I would just stand there, right? And I was just, they would be talking amongst each other. I would just be listening from a distance. But the thing is that whenever these kinds of conversations that were happening, I just used to, listen to them. And at night, when I used to get some time, used to sit down, meditate, and think about it. Like, why were these people thinking the way they were thinking? Where were they actually coming from, right? And that kind of helped me build some mental models and processes about how successful people actually think, how they rationally take such great decisions at such short amount of time on the go, right? Pragmatic stuff and things like that. Because I mean, most of the successful and great people you will know, they always, take decisions on the go. They don't have to analyze what, they just are. It's like a habit to them. They are just so sharp with all these things. They know what the situation is. They know all the variables and things like that, and they'll immediately come up with a decision that they need to take, right? So I just try to replicate that stuff just by thinking. I try to think a lot about what other person, where other person, the other person might be coming from. So that is one thing that helps me understand what perception the other person carries. And once I understand that perception, I think I'm able to better understand that person. So that's why I mean, some of the people say that, Apoorv, don't give fly to all the negative comments that you might get, or the negative DMs that you might get. But the thing is that I always, read those negative comments. I always read those negative DMs. I read through them. I even like them. I even reply to them. Right. The reason is that while I am reading it, I just try to understand what the other person might be thinking and where that other person is coming from. Once I know, what they might be thinking or where they are coming from, I kind of just receive some sort of feedback there, right? And I just kind of know what I need to improve, right? Because whatever you're doing, you cannot never satisfy each and every person that is out there. Even the big companies that are out there, Apple, Google, there are some people who just hate them, right? For nothing, right? So, and it's not like they're not doing a good job. It's just a perception, right? So the idea is to understand those perceptions and keep improving, right? Just understand where other people might be coming from. Identify the faults that may be within you, maybe in your habits, maybe in your personality or things like that. Eventually you'll keep improving. Once this becomes a habit in life, it will also start reflecting in your career as well. You are making a career decision, you would have so much exposure and experience over a short span of time that you will, you know be able to think about it in that way, and approach that same thing with a lot of different things, like a lot of different directions, that this could happen, that could happen, yeah, you could probably get to a point where you can actually start predicting what is going to happen. And once you reach that stage, then you start thinking more clearly. When you're able to predict that if I do this, it kind of becomes obvious that this is the thing that is going to get messed up if I do this, right? So I mean, that's the general thing. I just try to keep meditating and working on how I usually think, my thinking process and things like that. And I mean, ultimately, I don't think that the people who are successful or anything, they did anything that is rocket science or anything. Anything, anyone can achieve it, right? It's just that you need to replicate that process that they were, you know they already walked on. You just need to replicate that process and add a little bit of your own creativity to it. Hi, Hermes. Bro, can you make a freelancing guide series? Yes. Yes, I will. Utpal. Bro, are you doing financially fine? Is everything well? So issues from my side. Yeah, hi Ayush. Thanks for your wishes. Currently, I mean things are sorted, so I'll start creating content again. And thanks for your concern. Firebase with Python. Uh, I'm not sure about any good resource, but I'll just tell you how to do it. So the general, I mean the general idea is just install the Firebase admin in your Python application, right? Install the Firebase admin. From your Firebase, export the keys, the credentials for accessing your database, the admin credentials of it, export that JSON, create a PY of it, like a PY file of it. It would be a JSON, copy paste that JSON and, assign it to a variable, make it a dictionary in Python, right? And uh, like give it the extension of .py since it's a dictionary. Export that variable in your main file where you want to initialize your Firebase database. Once you export it in the main file, just Google search about how to initialize Firebase database in Python. You'll find a couple of lines of code, copy paste it, right? And once it is copy pasted, right, your Firebase database would be connected to your application. After that, I think there was one thing. Let me check. But after that, it's kind of pretty easy. I mean, once your Firebase is connected with your Python, after you export the credentials and initialize it with your Firebase admin thing. And Firebase admin is something that you can simply install with a pip install thing. Okay, so yeah, so you initialize it, right? And I'll tell you the exact thing. I have my code opened up in front of me. So yeah, so from Firebase admin import credentials and initialize app. These are going to help you initialize the credentials and the application, and import the JSON dictionary that you created with the credentials. Then once your database is initialized, you need to use another library, which is this is not an open repository, otherwise I would have directly shared the link only. Could have checked it from here. But yeah, so and I mean, once your database is initialized, just import Firestore from Firebase admin, and calling firestore.client will create your Firebase database object. You can use it to do whatever you want with Firebase then. Which database you recommend with Flask? PostgreSQL, PSQL. PSQL is like the best. भाई वो सिगरेट वाली ट्रिक तो अंबानी भी यूज़ करता था, पर वो 5 स्टार होटल्स में जाता था. अरे सिगरेट वाली ट्रिक मैंने बहुत जगह यूज़ किया है. What about Kunal? How is he able to travel so much? Can we become like him after completing the course? Well, I mean, if you want to travel just like Kunal, do attending, workshops and doing all these, talks and things like that, then for that you need to, build a great presence in the community and start contributing in open source, right? So, I mean, and open source is something that is available in all the fields. It's not like DevOps में ही open source होता है. and web development, blockchain, everything as open source, right? Every of these technologies have their own, conferences. Every of these own technologies have their, own talks and things like that. So if you stand out in any of these communities and you are creating content and you have a following, right, there are people following you, and you do a lot of, and even if not people following you, but even if you do open source contributions, if you make some open source contributions, people are obviously going to start following you. So if you start contributing in open source, then again, I mean, gradually you would start understanding about, different events that are happening. Gradually, whatever organization you are contributing in open source, they might ask you to host some event or organize something online, so gradually when you start getting into this space, you would start understanding more and more about all the conferences and things that are going on. Eventually you'll start applying to them. Once you start applying to them, you'll people will start, acknowledging you. They will start inviting you. Once you get invited a couple of times, you will build a strong presence in the community, and once you build that strong community, you know uh, it's just a go from there. I mean, you can, after that you can do, like, just how Kunal travels, you can also travel and attend all the conferences and things like that. What was your first job as a developer? How did you get it? Uh, so, I mean, if you're talking about my first freelancing gig, it was in September. It was in February 2018. February 2018. It was on 4th February 2018, to be precise. Right. And I just got it out of sheer luck. I'll share that story some other day. It's a long story. As for my first job was on 10th July 2018, to be precise. Right. I remember these details pretty well. And on 10th July 2018, I again got it. I mean, it was a project that I was working on, but the guy that I was working on, my client, he got really impressed with my work, and eventually he asked me, to, start doing it part time. Right. But the pay was good, even for part time stuff. So I started doing that project and working on it, and eventually it in November 2018 it converted into a full-time role in remote full-time role. In November 2018 it converted into a remote full-time role. in october in October 2019, after working nearly a year remotely, uh, we finally were upscaling that product. So I mean, I was needed in Bangalore to build a tech team and things like that. So that was the point when I moved to Bangalore. So that was my first job. Again, I got it through freelancing. It's just that my client really liked my work, so he eventually gave me a part-time role. And since I was the first developer in his company and he liked my part-time stuff as well, eventually he gave me a full-time role with a package of 15 LPA, and I used to get 12 LPA in hand. uh, yeah, and this was around November 2018. Hey Apoorv, would you start Git after Linux? Yes. What are some good tech related YouTube channels that we should follow? I'm not sure about tech related good channels. I don't follow any tech related channel on YouTube. I did follow, there's this Mosh Hamildani, I think. I don't remember the exact name. He's a bald guy, but he teaches pretty well. So I watched a few tutorials of his. Brad Taversey is another guy. I have watched a couple of tutorials of Brad as well, and again, I think it's a good channel, but I never really explored all the playlists in their channel. So that is there. I personally, follow more science related channels like Veritasium and Three Blues One Brown, and all these channels that are intellectually are at a different level. So I like to follow these channels more than the tech channels. Bro, I'm doing BCA from a bad college and I don't have competent peers. Coding culture is shit over here. I'm learning all on my own, but I feel lonely because I just stay in my room. How can I overcome? See, I mean, this is the exact situation where I was also in once, where I was not in a good environment, and I used to stay in one room, stay alone, and didn't used to do anything. The thing is that I kept my focus on working hard, and eventually when I started making some money and things like that, I just started traveling, right? So I mean, this is one problem that a lot of people face there, where they feel lonely and things like that. So that is why the community, that is what the community is for, to make you feel supported. And maybe you can try to find someone who can peer program with you. That absolutely helps a lot. But the thing is that to have someone to pair program with you, you should both be at the same level of dedication. It's not like you are more dedicated and the other person is not dedicated. It's not going to work out ever. But yeah, I mean, if you can find some peers there, just focus on your studies. It's I mean, this displeasure that is there in life where you feel alone and things like that, this is just for a very short amount of time. Once you actually start, once you have actually developed the skills, and once you actually start working, you'll open up a wide world for you. It will enable you to travel a lot. You can start traveling. It's not like you need to spend a lot of money while traveling, right? I mean, initially when I used to travel, my monthly expense was about 5-6 thousand rupees while I was traveling, right? So you can imagine, like what kind of a Banjara style I've traveled, right? That's why, I carry a rucksack with me, and I used to have a long hair, during that time. The reason is simple. I didn't even used to spend on shaving and getting my hair cut, right? That was not a necessary expense for me, right? I used to travel ekdam completely, I mean, road style, and with a backpack and things like that. So I mean, I didn't used to spend much on traveling, right? I just what traveling enabled me to do is it enabled me to meet new people, explore different cultures, to the point where I no more used to feel lonely. I got more socialized back then, because I mean, I after that, I didn't used to find myself in a position where I'm not able to socialize with any random stranger, because while I was traveling, I didn't used to know anybody, right? So I used to only socialize with strangers, even if I'm going somewhere. And I've socialized to the point, back in 2018 in February, I was in Chhattisgarh, right? And Chhattisgarh also, I mean, there's this area known as Bastar. And after Bastar, I mean, there's this 50 kilometers from Bastar, I think there's this Chitrakoot waterfalls, beautiful place. I mean, I haven't seen a waterfall more beautiful than the Chitrakoot waterfall. And this 50-kilometer path between Chitrakoot and Bastar was like the Naxal area, right? So I was staying in this Naxal area, and while staying in this Naxal area, I like many a times I used to go to any random stranger's place, and I used to say that, do you have some extra food that I can eat, right? Or do you have an extra place where I could sleep at the night? I was at that level of comfort, right? Where I can just go to any stranger's place and just ask them if I can sleep or have some food there, right? So, and all of that because I started traveling, because I was capable enough to make some money or things like that, right? So I mean, this is all of this stuff is just temporary. Just bear with it, right? Keep your focus entirely on your goal, right? And once you achieve it, I mean, this all of this would be just secondary. आयुष says that भैया मैच देख लेते हैं अब. बात तो सही है. मेरे को भी देखना है, बहुत सारा निकल गया. Can we skip the Linux part for learning web development? Yes, you can skip it for learning the front end, but as we start getting into backend and as we start extending the backend into, things like installing and using databases and going into AWS, deploying our application and things like that, that is the point where you'll need Linux. You cannot skip that. But if you're just talking about the front end part, you don't need Linux for that. Although, I mean, you will still need a little bit of Linux to get comfortable with Git. So that's something that you should know because Git is pretty basic that you should know. Thanks, Reshab. I'm fine. Banjara style, yes. Yes, I mean exactly Banjara style. I used to travel Banjara style completely, and I mean those were the good old days in my life. I mean I really cherish those memories where I just was carefree and you used to travel, uh, you know. Uh, in completely Banjara style, traveling in buses and trains, exploring the local cultures and things like that. So that is exactly what I'm looking forward to next year as well. If I start my theme of 12 months, 12 countries, then this is exactly what I'm going to look for, but not in India, in other countries. Because in India, I've explored, most of the areas, most of the states, I would say, I've explored them. So I mean, there are still a few places, mostly in East India, that I haven't explored yet. So I do plan to do that sometime soon. But yeah, I mean, for most of the part, I think, I mean, I want to, explore what other countries have to offer more now. I mean, how do you plan your day, like managing so much? See, I mean, when I wake up in the morning, there's just one thing in my mind, and that one thing is that what is that one thing that I can complete today, right? So that one thing that I can complete today, whatever comes into my mind. See, I mean, every one of us have a list of tasks that we have to do, right? So that same applies to me. I have every day I have a list of tasks that these are the things that I want to do. Now, once I have this list, I just take a look at this list. I just ask myself, what is that one thing that I can start today and complete today itself? Whatever that one thing is, I just focus my entire day on it. After completing it, if I get some time, I'll just, spend some time working on some other thing. But the agenda for that one day is to just complete that one thing that I'm spending my time on, right? So that is how I usually plan about my day. Nothing special. I mean, this is something that I picked up from one of the co-founders in a company. I mean, this was the style of a co-founder in a company. I asked him the same question, like, you have so much work, in front of you. How do you exactly manage, all of these things? So this was his answer. I applied it on myself and kind of worked out. So भाई TCS में हूँ. एज अ फ्रेशर कैसे बचाऊँ खुद का करियर? ब्रो, how much time have you spent in TCS? Off topic, do you believe in God? Nah, I'm an atheist. Big time atheist. Budget for your next journey? How much? I have not planned my next journey as such, but maybe in the maybe in November or something, I might go on a very short trip, 3 4 days, to the hills, do a small trek and come back. I don't have as such any budget in mind, but since I'm going to hills, it's not going to cost much. Uh, it's going to cost maybe 12,000 rupees, I guess, not more than that. भाई मेरा आंसर दे दो, फ्रंट एंड प्रोजेक्ट वाला कौन सा? What can you suggest front end project ideas? Only one, two, not those all on internet projects which are valuable and helps to stand out. See, I mean, just try to combine two or three different things, right? So, for example, you want to build an e-commerce, right, as a front end project, but along with e-commerce, just try to build an application that you can build SaaS based product, right? You can build a renting product, right? Renting product as in renting some sort of an entity. Maybe you're renting books, or you're renting some hardware components. You're renting maybe laptops or things like that. You can build those kinds of websites, right? You can build the websites. You can build your own website, a website for yourself, right? Just explaining yourself. So nomankhan.com, right? So you can build that kind of website where you just talk about yourself, add some UI elements to it, maybe a parallax effect, some sliders and things like that, all of those things. So you can build all of those projects. And you can I mean, it's not like you guys think that cloning is kind of easy, right? Or cloning is kind of cliche, right? But I'll show you a website and you tell me, I mean, if you guys can clone this one, right? And this is going to be a part of one of the projects in the front end course, right? Try to build this website. And this website, I mean, now I don't think this website is easy to build, right? Because I mean, even for me, this is quite complicated stuff. Bro, you know what, I live in Banjara Darwaza area. Where is that? Banjara Darwaza. Hyderabad. Hyderabad. I've been to Hyderabad also. Right after Chhattisgarh, I went to Hyderabad for a few days before going to Bangalore and before going to Karnataka. I mean, I didn't stay in Bangalore. In Karnataka, there was this one village known as Hosaudya, and this village was about 50 kilometers away from Bangalore. So I stayed in that village for about 1 month. Kumar, I mean, it would be great if you can, elaborate your question in the Discord server, in the Linux channel, right? I mean, tell us about the configuration of your laptop and what issues are you exactly facing, what drivers are not there. Because even I, in the earlier days, I had this one HP or Acer laptop, and I installed Linux inside it, and it was not connecting to Wi-Fi because of some driver issues. So I spent like a good 3 hours on it. I solved it. So it's not like your problem is unsolvable if you have a Lenovo laptop and it doesn't have some drivers. But yeah, I mean, you can share it in the Discord server about your laptop config and what issues are you having, and people are, I'm sure they would be eager to help. How to get jobs in big MNCs in India, as they mostly prefer CSE degree graduates. Well, see, I mean, if you're a dropper and you want to get into big MNCs, then the general idea is to have an extremely good portfolio. I mean, without that, it's not going to work out. Along with a good portfolio, you also need to consider being very good at DSA, because DSA is like the hiring criteria for these MNCs, right? And yeah, I mean, combining a good DSA and MNC, and if someone can, uh, recommend you to the company, maybe reach out to some hiring managers, HR managers, show them your work that I've done this thing and I'm good with DSA, right? Reach out to them, ask them out if they can, recommend you to the company or things like that. If they do, then you have a good chance of getting hired. HTML, CSS just enough for freelancing? Yes. Initially, I did a couple of projects that were purely based on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Can you talk a little bit about your next startup? You were talking about in the previous live. So my next startup is going to be on mental health. I mean, it's predetermined. It's going to be on mental health. I've worked a lot on it. I've built the business model of it. I've built different metrics for it. How much is going to be the customer acquisition cost? How are we going to market it? How are we going to spread into the market and things like that? How the product would be. So I've given it a lot of thought. It is going to be on mental health, but it's not going to be a regular mental health startup. It is going to be something which has never been there in the market before. And I mean, since you guys know, COVID and everything happened, and after that, the mental health of people kind of messed up. So it's a product that is highly in requirement in the market as well. And I have someone as my co-founder for that startup, but we both feel that next year is the right time to do that. So let's see if that happens. But I think apart from that, if I reveal any more, then my co-founder is going to kill me, right? So let's not do that. So Sarthak, I mean, I don't know how to leave and ask for my salary. So I mean, see, asking for your salary is not a big thing, right? I mean, you have worked in the company, so ask for the salary. Did you? If they didn't pay your first salary, then I mean, you should definitely ask for it. If they paid your first salary and now you want to quit, I mean, at this point of time, like right now, so what I would suggest is that spend 15 more days in the company, complete it to 60 days. After completing to 60 days, once you receive your second month's salary, just ask them that you want to leave the company, and if they don't allow you to leave the company, then simply abscond out of it, right? If you stop responding to them and things like that, then you will be considered as absconded. And the worst that will happen is that you won't get an experience letter out of it. But if you abscond, otherwise you will have to serve the notice period. But the problem is that I mean, since you are not since you're being underpaid and there's a lot of work, I've seen a lot of such kinds of companies, and I don't think that even the experience letter of these companies are worth it. But it kind of depends. I mean, if you really want the experience letter or things like that, then you can definitely serve the notice period. Otherwise, I mean, just wait up to 60 days. If they haven't paid you your first salary only, then to, I mean, just tell them that if you don't pay my salary, I'm leaving today, right? And if they have paid your first salary, then wait for 15 more days, then ask for your second salary. Once you receive it, leave, right? Serve your notice period if you want the experience letter. If not, you will be considered as seconded, but no major damage done, right? Because I mean, the kind of thing that you're sharing, that you're being underpaid and there's a lot of work, and they haven't even been able to create an environment where you can talk about leaving or asking for your salary with the HR or whoever is your manager. They haven't been able to create that kind of environment, then I don't think it is a like leaving such a company is a big deal. How much Linux is required for Git? Maybe the first and second video of the Linux masterclass, I'm not sure. Bro, any of your points on later on trends, creative websites like awards? Creating websites like awards is not that difficult. I mean, That kind of website will be the virtual tech school's website only. I mean, virtual tech school website, the design of it kind of resembles the one that is there for awards. So you don't have to worry about that. Nvidia has started to provide Linux drivers. Yes, yes, they have. Probably old drivers and maintenance stuff. So RTK, I'm not sure. I mean, we haven't even started with the startup yet, so I'm not sure if we are. I mean, when we started, then if we need anyone, then we'll definitely I'll reach out in the community only before reaching out elsewhere. Good websites or strategies to find entry level remote dev roles. So I mean, strategy I discussed earlier only. If you want level roles or something, then just go on Twitter, search for your role, and along with just go on Twitter. If you click on the search icon, just simply search for front end jobs, right? If you search it, then there would be a lot of people who would have posted application forms for front end jobs. Just go through them. If people are searching for people on Twitter, so Twitter is a place where people usually look for, if they are posting such a thing, then Twitter is a place where people usually look for freshers, right? If they want someone who is of experience, then instead of posting, they directly reach out to the person, right? So I mean, the best thing is to look on Twitter. And again, on Twitter, even if you don't find any job forms, then you would find plenty of people who would have shared a lot of job postings on Twitter, right? So just utilize one platform. Twitter is enough, to if you keep your keywords right, then you would find a lot of job opportunities here and there for freshers only on Twitter itself, right? Can you share how long it take about your journey? I still feel low after practicing 6 months, still stuck. JS. Well, I'm still in my journey. It's not like my journey has been over. I'm still in my software developer's journey. It's not like I know everything, but yeah, but I mean, as I mentioned earlier as well, you should at least estimate it to be 1 year. I mean, that's something that it at least takes, right, to have a certain level of knowledge. But you don't need to be stuck with JS for so long. I mean, if you feel that you're stuck with JS, move to some other thing, and after some time come back to JS. Right? Don't, just because you're stuck with JS doesn't mean that you have to stay stuck with it. Move on to some other thing. After a couple of weeks, come back to JS. You'll feel that you are moving forward. Don't copy bhaiya startup. You can't copy my startup. The reason is that that idea has never been like implemented in. Bro, can you suggest laptop that can handle codec, Linux, and doesn't stuck? Uh, I mean, see, if you're short on budget, you can go for IdeaPad or ThinkPad for Lenovo. I think they are decent for coding. A lot of people recommend them, and yeah, I mean, otherwise just go for a MacBook. That's like one of the best options that are there. Don't go for a gaming laptop, but if you go for a gaming laptop, I've seen that a lot of gaming laptops have different issues that are there. I'm not sure if they're resolved nowadays, but a couple of years ago they used to have a lot of issues running Linux. Yes, Umesh, I'll make those videos on interview preparation and stuff. Java full stack versus MERN full stack for freshers. See, both of them are equally in demand. It depends on your interest. स्टार्टअप्स की वेबसाइट पे भी काफ़ी जॉब मिल जाती है. यस. ऑसम, थैंक यू फॉर योर एडवाइस. नो वरीज. Paid bootcamps or learning from community. Paid bootcamps are like just curated resources that you can anyways find online. I try to learn and code, but when I see a problem, do big MNCs consider degrees if you have 2 3 years of experience. No, as I said, I mean, if you want to work in MNCs, it doesn't matter how much experience you have, unless it's like 10, 15 years of experience. If you want to work in MNCs, you need to go with DSA, and you need to have a recommendation by any HR or something, so you can reach out to HRs. That will make your process easier, and you need to be really good with what you do, right? Hi Apoorv, one quick question. Currently, I am 31 years old, working as structural engineer. Want to change my career into web development and work remotely in future. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. There's no name. So yes, it is possible. I was talking earlier about it as well. I had a friend, he's 31 years old when he started learning to code, and he was not even in the from the engineering background. Right, he started learning coding. It's been 2 years since he did that. He's not working remotely, so working remotely might, be. Uh, I mean, working remotely is similar. When you're working remotely, no one asks for your age or anything, right? So you can work remotely, and it's been 2 years for him since he was from non-IT background and things like that. He is currently on a package of 60, 70,000 per month, something like that. So it's not like it's not possible. It would just take a lot of hard work. Bro, I have a Windows 4 GB RAM. Will it be good idea to install Linux on a VMware? No. For VMware, you should at least have 8 GB RAM in my opinion. So you can split it between 2 GB, 4 GB and 4 GB, right? 4 GB is, I mean, I think it's too low because nowadays Windows is also heavy, right? And it's running a lot of things in the background. So it will just end up hanging your laptop more often than not. Tomorrow is my Accenture interview. Any tips? Uh, just be confident, reflect confidence, right? Because if the interviewer feels that you're not confident in answering questions or things like that, and if you're not sure of yourself, then they wouldn't be sure of hiring you, right? So be confident, reflect that confidence, and you know uh, apart from that, Accenture it is, right? uh, Yeah, don't panic. I mean, if you, let's say they ask you a question and you don't know the answer to that question, it's quite common that you don't know an answer to a question, right? So if they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, just simply say that, I don't know about it, but after this interview, I'll spend some time reading about it, right? So just like accept that you don't know the answer. Also accept that you're going to spend some time, reading about it or studying about it, right? And just ask to move on to the next question, because if they ask you a question and you are stuck at it and you are, let's say, staying silent for uh, 2 3 minutes, that most of the people do, then it sets a very bad, image. I mean, it's negative points. In fact, even if you don't know an answer and you accept that you don't know the answer, and I'll study about it after, uh, after this interview, I'll do some research on it or learn about it, things like that. If you give that kind of answer, that will give you additional points, right, in the interview. So keep these things in mind, and just stay confident, answer confidently, believe in yourself, and it will work out for you. I've been making some projects using Flask. Should I try Django next? Uh, so Uncle Slayer, before moving to Node.js, you can give a try to Django. Siddhant. So you can give a try to Django, and after that, I mean, you can choose to, move to Express.js or Happy.js using Node.js. Yeah, so No Man Khan has a gaming laptop, no problem. So you can go with that laptop. But I actually have one of my friends had an HP laptop. Not HP laptop, sorry. He had an Asus laptop, and in that laptop, I mean, it was a hardcore gaming laptop, about 95,000 rupees का लैपटॉप था एंड आई मीन we faced so many issues trying to run Linux on that device. I mean, he wasn't able to do that, so he came to me that, bro, can you help me with this? And I remember I like spent 2 days just sitting on his laptop. How do I make this work? Why are remote salaries so high? Is it because of the currency difference? Yes. So I mean, for companies abroad, they don't mind paying good money for good employees, right? So and I mean, since India's currency is quite low at this point of time compared to dollars or euros that work in Europe and America, which are like high-paying countries. Uh, it's a win-win situation. I mean, they are getting someone, for a salary, uh, that is suitable for this person. I mean, see, if someone approaches you saying that I'm going to offer you 40 LPA, right? If someone approaches me saying that I'm offering 40 LPA, why would I deny it? Right. I have no reason to deny it, right? But that same faulty LPA doesn't mean as much to that company, right? Because they are operating from Europe or US, right? So it's a win-win situation. That's why the remote salaries are pretty high. But if you're working remotely for a company that is based down in India only, then your salary would be of Indian standards only. Doesn't matter if you're working remotely or not. SDSI. SDSI important for web developers? Yes, it is important to uh, clear interviews. Web development interviews are going to have DSA questions. I am following Kunal's roadmap for full stack development. Can you share the link of that roadmap? I haven't seen that roadmap. Let me search. Does buying an Apple device forces you to enter Apple ecosystem? No, it doesn't forces you to get into Apple. See, I have a MacBook, but apart from MacBook, I don't have an iPhone, I don't have an iWatch, I don't even have AirPods or things like that, right? I just have a MacBook. That's the only Apple device I have, and I'm pretty happy with it. So it doesn't forces you on getting into the Apple ecosystem. If you get into Apple ecosystem, it makes your life easier, but yeah, I mean, it wouldn't force you as such. So, Biswas, what you can do is you can simply just look for remote jobs. There's no extra preparation needed for remote jobs. If you already have 3 years of experience, that I'm sure that you will be eligible for a lot of remote roles that are out there. And again, I mean, to look for remote roles, you can use Twitter. Just look for, whatever your field is, front end, uh, remote jobs. Simple search on Twitter and you'll find a lot of tweets about people sharing applications or about jobs that are out there and things like that. Even if you just Google it, front end remote jobs, you'll find a lot of websites that contain a lot of uh, positions. So simple Google search will also help you a lot. There are a lot of remote jobs available nowadays. स्किल सबके पास है बट क्या उतने जॉब्स है हाउ मच आर टेक जॉब्स गोना इंक्रीज इन द नेक्स्ट 5-10 years? See, I mean, that's the point. Skills सबके पास नहीं है. You're saying that everyone has skills, but that's not true, right? The skills that are required for, that companies actually need, those are scarce, as I say, right? And I know the resources are increasing, right, for online, and people can study online and things like that, and they can build on their skills. That's true, but it keeps increasing, right? The standard keeps increasing. The current standard that is there for skills would not be the same 10 years from now, right? 10 years from now you need to be more skilled. The curriculums that are there in school, the curriculums that are there in colleges, I'm not talking about Indian standards that may or may not change, but in foreign, where they keep changing these standards and curriculums and things like that, more competitive students are going to come out of those systems, right? And since more competitive students are going to come out of those systems, the standard for these jobs are going to keep increasing, right? So it's never going to be like the jobs are less and devs are more, because if you look at the below average or the average category of developers, there is this problem where the developers are sort of more than the jobs that are available, right? And even in that, I mean, since in today's times, even in India, if you look at it, there are so many startups blooming, and the startup culture is, kind of picking up in the Indian ecosystem. So if you look at all of those things, then you will realize that, you know, there's no scarcity of jobs as such. But since the standards are raising with time, then eventually, I mean, uh, you'll have to be more skillful in order to be eligible for those good high paying jobs, right? Which headphones? These are HyperX 7.1 surround system headphones, I guess. Yeah. Eh, Is English speaking matter a lot in interviews? Sometimes I fumble a lot while speaking. That's not a problem. I mean, if you fumble in English, that's not a problem. As long as you're speaking whatever you're speaking confidently, right? So if you're speaking broken English or things like that, it doesn't matter much, right? The only thing is that it might affect the chances if there are candidates with your skill level speaking better English, right? But if you are like highly skilled person with you know some little problems, like you fumble in your English, or you kind of sometimes find it difficult to form sentences or things like that, if these are the problems but you are highly skilled, it's not going to affect much in the interviews, because the ultimate goal of having good English speaking skills or written skills is that you are able to communicate with the people who are going to work with you in a remote team, and you're going to understand what they are saying to you, right? That's the most important part of being an English speaker or knowing English, right? Which college are you from is the wrong question to ask from me. भाई ब्लॉकचेन का आइडिया है आपको? स्कोप कैसा है? स्कोप बढ़िया है. uh, मतलब ब्लॉकचेन इज द नेक्स्ट बिग थिंग. I mean AI ML level, like the most level पे blockchain is going to boom. मतलब it's going to reach the same league as uh, you know data science and AI ML and you know things like that. So web development and DevOps and mobile development, these things are there for a very long time, right? So since these things are there for a very long time, what happens is that I mean they are already well established, right? These are the fields in which the roles would never cease to end, right? But when you talk about blockchains, it's a market that is developing, right? So blockchain is going to be the field where there are going to be a lot of job opportunities in the future. Maybe in the even now, I mean there are job opportunities, but in the next 5 years there are going to be a lot of job opportunities in blockchain. So I mean it's high time. I mean, even if you started maybe 1 year from now and 1.5, if you start learning blockchain within 1 to 2 or 1 years from now, then you are still be there when the blockchain is booming, and when there are a lot of jobs in blockchain, you would be prepared for that phase, right? If you start from 1 or 2 years from now, right? So that's, I mean, that was since I was working on a project earlier, I mean that was using blockchain. That was one of the reasons why I spent so much time studying blockchain also last month. So yeah. How proud is your parent of you currently? uh, I don't know the answer to that. I mean अभी लाइव करने से पहले मैं दूध लेके आया हूँ मार्केट से, तो I mean, they don't have to show how proud they are of me. I understand, they understand, it's completely fine. Any idea about quant? No. Why remote jobs are not mainstream in India? Uh, because a lot of people, because foreign companies, a lot of developers that we have in India, they are not of that quality enough that foreign people will consider hiring, and the remote jobs that are offered in India, they don't pay that much, good money. And even, I mean, the culture is so toxic in India, to be very honest. If they are offering you, remote jobs, they try to cut in the salary. They say that you don't have to spend money on commuting, and you don't have to spend money here, you don't have to spend money there. So, I mean, since you're saving on a lot of money, we are going to cut your salary. That's how toxic the culture is in India. The Indian companies who are offering, remote jobs, they do all this kind of bullshit stuff, and the average developers that are there in India, they are not, skillful enough to work in companies that are abroad. Because I mean, since abroad companies, they are willing to pay good money, they also need good developers in return, right? The developers who can deliver on the amount they are paying. So that's why it's not mainstream. And this is my opinion. I mean, I'm not saying that. Um, I've read it somewhere. This is just my opinion. This is what I have observed. भाई SaaS स्टार्टअप के लिए फ्लास्क चाहिए बैकएंड के लिए या फिर बैकएंड की अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए I mean, to understand backend, Flask is a good first framework to start with, right? But for SaaS startup, I think, yeah, I mean, you can work with Flask, that's not an issue. But in SaaS based startup, the main thing is that you'll have to work with two kinds of databases. I mean, you'll have to use both SQL and NoSQL databases, so that might be a complication there. No, Aryan, it's not too late if you're in third year. Uh, it's like an ideal time to start with it. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm just not active on LinkedIn. And I wrote a blog where I mentioned where I was and what I was doing, and I'm completely fine. Um, can you share your roadmap? Like, what did you learn before your first job? Before my first job, you've already seen the roadmap that I built for the web dev, right? So before my first job, I knew the entire phase one and phase three of that roadmap. Phase 2 I didn't know, phase 4 I didn't know. Phase 1 and 3 I knew. And after that I got my first job. RTK, you can wait for your boards to complete, because my younger brother, I mean, he's also in 12th, he has his boards in 2023, same as you. Uh, he has no interest in coding whatsoever. And but he still wants to give it a try. And he also says that I always tell him that to focus on your boards first, because I mean, it is the thing that is going to help you, uh, you know uh, build some habits. I mean, it's not about getting a good college, it's not about building a good score, it's more about building that habit of, spending time into your studies and learning, right? Because boards is the time where you know anyways have to study a little bit. Even if you don't like, you just can't afford to fail, right? You have to pass anyhow, right? So that is how the boards work. And for that, I mean, you need to build some habits, right? You need to have an habit of maybe studying 3 or 4 hours every day, something like that, right? So just focus on your boards, build that habit, right? And once your boards are completed, continue that habit, but start learning web dev instead of focusing on physics and maths and all that stuff. How to get good grip in Python? Build a lot of stuff, try to solve your problems with Python. uh, I'll create a separate video on Python. Like, Python is my forte, right? Python is the language that in which I can do anything in this world, right? So I'll create a video on Python separately. I mean, that's completely. I need a lot of time to, you know, uh, I can speak a lot on Python. And bro, currently as of now, from past 2 years, I'm trying to learn to code, but I'm failing. What do you say? And I want to give tries again with your bootcamp. What do you suggest? Just keep practicing, and just think of it in the sense that failure is a part of, learning, right? I mean, see, the thing is simple. If let's say you're, learning how to ride a bicycle, right? So ride your bicycle initially, and there would be a lot of times where you would just fall down, right? So when you fall down, if you get up, you pick up your bicycle and you come back home, saying that I just fall down and I got hurt, so I'm not going to try again. You're never going to learn, right? So it's the same process. I mean, you're trying to learn how to code, so it takes time. You are going to fail a lot of times, right? And there would be times where you feel that you're not going this is not meant for you and you won't be able to do it, right? All of us go through that phase, right? The main thing is to get up again, go get into that bicycle and keep practicing. When you keep practicing, eventually you will learn how to ride the bicycle, right? So the same applies to coding as well. Firebase real time versus Mongo. Well, I prefer Firebase because uh, I mean, it's just a personal preference. And does CGPA matter? Well, if you get an average CGPA, then you should at least aim to get an average CGPA. Don't get a CGPA which is like below average. Right. Try to get an average CGPA. Try to get, somewhere around 70-80% or something. It's not like a, uh, or not even 70-80%. Try to get something around 60 to 70%. Something which is, acceptable, right, but not excellent. At least that should be the aim, right? And this CGP I'm talking of the fourth year college, so it doesn't apply to 12th boards or anything. For 12th boards, you should at least aim to get about 75% plus, right? Not that it matters, but it's just that it won't make you eligible for a lot of colleges. Even I mean even that doesn't matter. So even in boards, if you get 60-65%, it doesn't actually matter. The only thing I think is that you won't be fitting the eligibility criteria of some colleges or something. Yeah, Rishabh, there's no issue. Even I don't use LinkedIn. Bro, is Next.js required nowadays or React is enough? See, Next.js is a completely like it's a different thing than React.js. So it kind of depends on uh, you know uh, use case to use case. If you want, I can create a video on Next.js versus React, like explaining in terms of use case how both things are different, and if you should learn one thing or not. Best course for being data scientist. uh, I mean, I'm not sure about being a data scientist, best course on that, but for data scientists you should be good with statistics. And I mean, for statistics you can go with Khan Academy's statistics course. It's free of cost and it's an awesome course. Brother, can you do 2 3 live streams every month? I planned on it. I'll see if I can do that. I can do that. I mean, it's not a big deal. वेब डेवलपमेंट कब खत्म करोगे ब्रो? दो तीन वीडियो होती तो एक दो तीन हफ्ते में ख़त्म हो जाएगा भाई. But there are a lot of videos in web development, and I'm not sure the exact number of videos that are going to be there, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, for the front end part would be finished by the end of October. Any prerequisites to your roadmap? No, you can start directly with the playlist. I will create a main playlist as well. More on it would be available in the website for of the community's website, so you can check out there. Uh, so I guess guys, that's pretty much it for this live stream. It's been going on since the very long time. It's been 3 hours 8 minutes already, 3 hour 10 minutes, and India is at 170 for 6, decent score. So I guess we'll wrap up this live stream. I'm not sure if I should upload if I should upload this live stream or not. So what do you guys think, if I should upload this live stream or not? I mean, I didn't intend to answer technical questions or career related questions in this one, but since I answered it, I don't know. Thanks guys. Good night. Good night. Bye. Bye. ठीक है. I'll upload this live stream. I'll make it available on the channel. ठीक है. ठीक है. Okay guys, have fun. Enjoy the match. India versus Pakistan. 171 for 6, 19th over down. Let's see if Pakistan gives a good competition. If their top order and middle order can chase it down. And I'll see you next week. Next weekend I'll upload the video, and hopefully we'll pick up the pace from there on. Right. So have fun. Good night, and take care, everyone. And I'll see you soon. Right. Maybe we'll do some more live streams later on. Um, we can do some doubt resolution live streams as well as the course goes on. But for now, I think this is it. Right. So have fun. Good night.